30th. A great deal. No insurance needed, plus prescriptions and delivery are included. Just choose from more than 200 medications like ivermectin and more. Please visit allfamilypharmacy.com/Bill. Use the code BILL20 for 20% off today. allfamilypharmacy.com/Bill, code BILL20. That is the Morning O'Reilly Update. More analysis later on.
This hour, the Vic Porcelli Show, brought to you by Connor Roofing. You can count on Connor for all your roofing needs. Visit ConnorRoofing.com. That's CONNER Roofing.com. Vic Porcelli.
Come on, you're Italian. You understand.
Every day is a busy day all of a sudden.
You talking to me? You talking to me?
Tough and smart, and I love Italian, so, he's definitely Italian.
At least I have this show to come and talk about it and let some stuff up.
What kind of a show are you guys putting on here today?
The Vic Porcelli Show.
Well, hello, and welcome back to the Vic Porcelli Show. I'm not Italian. Ken, are you Italian?
No, but I am a freedom fighter, and so good morning to all of you freedom fighters.
You freedom fighting freaks. That's what you said the other day. Vic Heads.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to have Vic Heads and Nick Heads, as I am Nick Schroer, host of Damn Near Everything. Brand new show coming out this Sunday, which we're going to talk to State Representative Richard West about later today. St. Charles Patriot Radio, host of Stand and Fight. And I'm standing in for a good friend, a guy that I've looked up to for a very long time, before I even knew he was a cool conservative, Vic Porcelli, who's out on assignment, I think, in Kenya.
Yeah, that's what I've heard too. Or maybe just taking a trip down to see his son.
Yeah, in other words. In other words,
yeah.
Well, it is the last Friday that we're going to have in June, and the last Friday we're going to have before Independence Day. So what better way to celebrate? What better way than kicking the show off with the fireworks that we're going to have? Before we get into the pledge and before we get into our first guest, we are going to have today, we're going to hear from Larry Connors. We're going to hear from the birthday boy, Jay Ashcroft, Smoozy Q, Susie Moore. We're going to hear from Captain America, Jim Avery, Vic for Vets, which I'm really looking forward to, Dr. Mollie James, Representative Richard West. And before we get to Susan Pendergrass, Ken, who leads us in the pledge?
Well, Senator, you do.
Yes! I love the pledge. Do I have to touch the flag over here?
After you're done.
Okay. After I'm done. Okay, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. God bless America.
There we go.
And I'll tell you what, a little later in the show, you touched that Freedom 13 flag. We've got an update on something with Mark Schmitz and the Freedom 13.
Oh, awesome.
But stick around for that, because right now we've got our very first guest, Susan Pendergrass, Director of Research at the Show Me Institute. Thank you for joining us on this Good Friday.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, it is a jam-packed day with the Supreme Court ready to strike down any minute now on a bunch of decisions. But before we jump into which one you're looking forward to hearing from the Supreme Court on, let us go back a couple weeks ago to this tornado that hit St. Louis.
Yeah.
As everybody knows, I'm a huge school choice supporter in the state of Missouri. And a lot of these families, rightfully so, they have the choice to get out of the destroyed buildings, but only for this disaster. Only for this disaster. Can you explain a little bit about what's happening with the SLPS school relocations after the tornado?
Yeah, I mean, they don't really have a choice, right? So SLPS decided for students that are in this damaged building, you're going to all go to this building, and so on. There's a list of buildings, and each of those schools has been reassigned. And I think that it's a great opportunity. And I will just say as an aside, the Show Me Institute office was also destroyed in this tornado. So we know what it feels like. And I think it's a great opportunity for the governor to issue an emergency executive order, which is to say any student who's displaced perhaps from their home, or any student who attends a school that is not safe to attend right now, they should be given the choice of where to attend, right? Because this didn't just affect school buildings, it also affected students' homes. And in this type of an emergency situation, we saw this during COVID.
Yeah.
I think that there's a good opportunity for the governor to say, okay, like for this period, you guys can decide where you go to school, because it could be that kids are misplaced and living with their grandparents, but they want to stay at their home school, or the kids from the schools that were damaged might not want to go it might not even be convenient, to be honest, to the school that SLPS has decided. And it's just another example of the government saying, now you have to go here, when in a time of crisis, we should give parents maximum flexibility.
Yeah, and all the other states around us that we're, looking at that are growing, as Joe Biden would say, exponentially.
Right.
Exponentially, that, these states have embraced school choice, and we're seeing leaders leading from the bully pulpit. I know Governor Kehoe, whether he was your first, second, or third choice, I applauded him for saying we need to do something about school choice. Do you think, and I'm inside the building, so I kind of have a little bit of an insight as to what the issues have been. But do you see this, with the issues happening in St. Louis, are we going to be able to get some Democrats on board for school choice next year?
I mean, we've gotten some, right? There's been bills for public schools, school choice, open enrollment, and we've had some support across the aisle, and it keeps getting a little bit further, but we really have only pushed, the Missouri legislature, I shouldn't say we, it's really only pushed for sort of a weak voluntary program. And I think that if the governor would come out in strong support, the way to go on this is to say that every Missouri families, not just some Missouri families, but every one of them deserves to have some options as to where their kids go to school. Yeah. So we need strong open enrollment like Kansas has, and Nebraska just passed, Nevada just passed. We need that type of leadership. Iowa and Oklahoma, as you may know, they cover private school tuition for families to go to any private school of their choice too, as does Arkansas. So we are literally surrounded by states that put the reins completely into parents' hands and say you can either generously pick a public school or a public or private school. And Missouri is just going to become an island. Now, I have to give the governor credit because he did commit to appropriating $50 million for our existing private school choice program, but that's only going to cover a few thousand students, and we have 850,000. So I would love to see in 2026 the governor and the legislature come out really strong for this.
Amen.
And this would probably be a question for you, Susan, and for you, Nick, as well. But we've got a supermajority for the last number of years of Republicans, and yet school choice is not getting passed, Nick. And I mean, this is a huge feature for and preferable for the Republicans and for conservatives. Why is it not just flying through Congress?
Well, Susan,
I'll ask Nick first.
Oh, okay. Well, for me, I think we haven't had the leader with the previous governor who's not a fan of school choice. Now we were able to move forward with the ESAs with the governor's help when he was lieutenant governor. But essentially, you have some of these rural Missourians, rural Republicans who are afraid of their school boards. And I don't get it, because looking at the other states that are very rural, it's actually helped them. Looking at our test scores in the state of Missouri, we need help now, and parents need choice.
Susan?
Yes, it's dismal, the test scores. And it's so interesting because Kansas just launched their Stronger program last year, and it is being taken up mostly, I shouldn't say mostly, but mainly by rural families. So you can imagine rural families have very few choices when it comes to what's being taught at their schools. It's often really limited. And just opening it up to rural families, I think, is such a benefit. And I also think it's so interesting to me because the rural legislators who come out against this only envision it as kids leaving their schools. They don't envision it as kids coming to their schools, which, number one, says something about their opinion of their schools, right? That kids will just leave like rats from a sinking ship, and they don't think about the opportunity to bring kids in, to start a new program or a language immersion program or an ag program that brings kids in from the surrounding areas. And I think it's that mindset, which is like, if we let parents pick where their kids go to school, our rural schools will close because everyone will leave. I think if we change that mindset to, hey, this is an opportunity for us to bring kids in. We have a lot of tiny rural districts that are getting tinier, under 100 kids, under 200 kids, and they are just getting smaller and smaller. And sure, this might lead to, kind of the survival of the fittest, but we could have perhaps fewer, but better, stronger rural school options, instead of just making sure that everyone goes to their address assigned school until it sort of, dies off enrollment wise. So I just think it's a great thing for rural families, and it is being like the status quo is being protected tooth and nail. And I think that it's time to change that mindset.
And Susan, something on a side note here that Vic always talks about, the Show Me Institute has a great website. It's called moschoolrankings.org. That's mostschoolrankings.org. If you really want to get pissed, then check that out, because some schools are just so in such trouble. And but it gives you a good insight as to what's going on in Missouri.
Yeah, it shows how every school and district in the state ranks compared to all the rest of them, and test scores and letter grades. But also, interestingly, you can really dig into school finances. So for every district, we have hundreds of lines of finance data.
We are talking to the director of research at the Show Me Institute, Susan Pendergrass, and let me kind of stick with the school stuff here. Towards the end of the year, Missouri created this new funding formula task force. I know the governor has talked about it's outdated. It needs to change. Number one, do you agree with the governor? And number two, what is the status? What is this task force even doing? Because we hear all the time of task forces getting together, and 5-6 years later down the road, nothing has happened. Do we actually have a shot at reforming this outdated system?
So number one, I completely agree. It needs to be reformed. It's 20 years old. It's 2 decades old. And when the legislature put it into place in 2005, they just stuck a lot of things right at 2005. So unbelievably, it uses 2005 property values before the 2009 recession, before COVID. It uses property values from 2005, which is insane. And it also has some provisions in there that most of our rural districts don't even use the funding formula, because they just get whatever amount they got in 2005. They're held harmless. So it is absolutely time to revisit this. And I do think that there's lots of great members on the board, on the task force, and I think they're going to make real progress. They understand the issues, because it's been in the media already that those two things, the property values and the hold harmless, are some of the priorities. And I do think it's going to happen, but generally speaking, when states redo funding formulas, it takes a few years, and it's such a big push that a lot of legislatures sort of kick the can. They're like, I don't want to tackle that. It's too big. So this is a first step, and I think that it's going to fall into the hands of the legislature within a few years, and it needs to happen because our formula funds like buildings, and parents are moving around more, and kids are moving around, and parents want a much more flexible, hybrid, mobile model, and it doesn't work for that. It really just funds systems, and it doesn't fund kids. So I'm really glad that it's at least started, and I'm looking forward to see how it unfolds.
Well, Susan, in the last couple minutes that we have, what else are you all working on getting ready for next session? You know, keeping up with the task force is going to be one of the things that is very important to you all. But what are some other areas that you guys are focusing on with the Show Me Institute, aside from rebuilding after the tornado? What can we expect from you all going into next session?
So there's a couple things that exist right now under law that Missouri has not implemented. Kids are currently under federal law allowed to pick a different school if they go to a dangerous school. So we are working on just putting together some information. We have some dangerous that, would qualify under the definition of dangerous in the St. Louis area. And the parents whose kids go to University City High School should have an option where they say it's not safe and I want to leave now, and they should be able to. That's federal law. In addition, we're going to encourage the governor or the Board of Education creating some options for kids who attend what are identified as our lowest performing schools in the state. The Department of Education puts together these two lists of the lowest performing schools. We think those kids should not be forced to go there. And then we're going to really press for just mandatory, universal, across the board open enrollment for all public school students. Over half the country does that, and it's time for Missouri to get on board.
I completely agree, and I'm going to be super excited to work with you all next session on a lot of these issues. Susan, where can people find more about you and the Show Me Institute, what you all are working on?
Sure, showmeinstitute.org, and again, mostschoolrankings.org.
Well, happy Independence Day. I know, Ken, you're going to have some words.
Well, I just wanted to ask her how the building and everything's going on. How's your situation for the Show Me Institute, and also do you have any ideas to if you're going to stay or leave there, or what's going to happen?
Move to St. Charles County.
Yeah, I think that like a lot of people are dealing with right now, we are still waiting to hear if it's a full demolish or not. We've been told that some of the bricks are, the whole top floor is gone. So it's not looking good for that building, but we don't yet know how we're going to proceed because insurance and those types of things just take time.
Yeah. Well, if you need any help, I know a good attorney. So just give us a call. Well, Susan, thank you very much. Happy Independence Day, and you have a great weekend.
Okay, take care.
Take care.
That was Susan Pendergrass, the director of research at the Show Me Institute. And Ken, that's a great question. They got impacted like so many others in the St. Louis region, and was somebody on the top floor when it happened or in the building?
Yeah, I want to say Jeff's son Zach was up there.
Wow.
or something. Somebody was, And then they just said, well, y'all need to get downstairs. And they did. And, they lost the whole top floor.
Well, I hate to poke the bear and make this political, but the fact of the matter is you had somebody that was supposed to hit that button to alert everyone. And I know with phones, there's other mechanisms, but that was your only job.
That was
where were you?
You were paid well for it, too.
Absolutely.
The comms person.
Well, somebody who was paid very well for it is Ken Williams, who's going to be joining us all day up until the 12 o'clock hour.
I am?
Hopefully.
Paid?
Hopefully well.
Oh, nice.
Handsomely.
Sweet.
Maybe not as handsomely as our next guest, Larry Connors, the legend in St. Louis, is going to be joining us for Larry Connors' Neighborhood. He's bringing in his comfy shoes, too. He's changing out of those loafers. We're going to be talking to him next about everything happening in New York, where the commies have been getting closer to office. Here on the Vic Porcelli Show, News Talk STL. Don't go anywhere.
It's Friday!
Stream the Vic Porcelli Show at News Talk STL. The Vic Porcelli Show.
Live and be well.
Made in St. Louis for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL.
Serenity Wealth Management is the place where you can go and feel relaxed talking about your finances. People get a little weird, I don't want to walk in and just start talking about my money. What if I don't have enough money to even invest in anything? Well, that's where Chris Cooper comes in, because he won't even talk to you about money first. You walk in, would you like a cup of coffee? Would you like a drink? Sit down on the couch. Hey, look, that's Kramer's coffee table book. It's that kind of place. It's a fun place, and he'll get around to talking about your finances, and you won't even realize it. Now, he does have a show right here on News Talk STL. It's called Serenity Wealth Now. I can't remember what happens on that show.
Fun with finance.
Exactly. So listen to that every Sunday morning at 9 o'clock. Get his new book, The New Holistic Retirement, at SerenityNowTax.com. That's SerenityNowTax.com. Serenity Now with Chris Cooper.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors.
Serenity now!
I really like all the things you're saying.
News, analysis, opinion.
Thank you very, very much.
News Talk STL.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Hey, Columbo here for Rockwood Charcoal. Rockwood is made from 100% pure Missouri oak and hickory, so you're cooking with the best and supporting local industry and a local business all at once. There's over 100 area Rockwood retailers. Find yours at rockwoodcharcoal.com.
Nate Lucas here for the Village Bar in the heart of Des Peres. Since 1948, the Village Bar has been the go-to destination for delicious food, cold drinks, and unbeatable atmosphere. Savor their famous wings, burgers, and onion rings, or grab a drink from their fully stocked bar. Catch all the big games and enjoy the company of their friendly staff. Plus, don't miss the 1879 Distillery, a one-of-a-kind experience right next door. The Village Bar offers the best value in town. Find the Village Bar on Facebook and come experience where history meets great times. You'll be glad you did.
Free speech is alive and well in America right here.
It's about time somebody stood up for true American values.
What this country needs is some backbone.
Finally, a president who wants to make real change.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Whoosh.
Talk lines are open now at 314-912-1019.
Hi, this is Jefferson County Councilman Billy Crow with a reminder to check out our new show, Just Go Patriot Radio, this and every Sunday at high noon. Now, back to the Vic Porcelli Show.
Susie. Who is this?
Phil Collins, yeah.
That's what I thought.
This song, Phil Collins has an interesting writing skill. He would write the music and then fill it in with syllables. It didn't even make any sense. So when he was writing this song, he was saying, studio. And then he decided, I need to write around that. Yeah, it's really good. Yeah.
Wow, I wonder. So this is probably around 1985-ish. Because I remember this when I was young.
Yeah.
And I've got a weird, if you tune into Stand and Fight, Phil Valencia has talked about, we have the widest range, not whitest, the widest range of music. Because I thought he said I had the whitest music in town. I'm like, wait a second. We play rock, metal, rap, all of the stuff. But I wonder if that song from Phil Collins would be played in Mr. Connor's neighborhood.
St. Louis, it's Mr. Connor's neighborhood.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
It is a beautiful day in the neighborhood. And to answer your question, yes, that song was played in my neighborhood when my girls were younger. I had down the basement, I bought one of those old Wurlitzer jukeboxes with 45, so you could punch it. They played that over and over again and dancing to it and everything.
Yeah,
I mean,
but Larry, did you notice how Nick said, when I was a kid, we were playing that damn song when I was in a band.
Phil, how many bands was Phil Collins in? Because he was in Genesis.
Genesis, and then his own thing. But he's been in other projects.
You know, he's a terrific artist. Same thing with Rod Stewart. I remember when Rod Stewart had the classic music, what they call it, the albums with more Fly Me to the Moon type stuff they did with other artists as well. They had him appearing in St. Louis at the old it was the current Enterprise Center. And the crowd came, a mix of old and young, and he came out and started doing his, hits from the past. Everybody loved that. Halftime he comes down in the tuxedo and starts doing the tuxedo songs, and the other kids are like, well, what is this? I haven't heard this. But I mean, that's variety. I like that.
Yeah.
Well, do you guys hear what's coming back? Waylon Jennings.
Yes.
Have you heard about this?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So as everybody knows, and I've got the tattoo of Waylon Jennings and his son Shooter Jennings. I love outlaw country music. Love it. And I think that whole mindset of what Waylon and Willie and those guys did back then needs to be implemented in politics. But his son Shooter Jennings was going through the estate, going through recordings, and found a treasure trove of actual recordings that they went into studio, him and his band, and his son Shooter is a award-winning producer, and he sings. He's got his own
track
band
over like what Natalie Cole did with.
He's produced 3 different records. The first one, the title track, Songbird, has just been released. The album's going to come out in October, I think. But he's got 3 full albums that he's going to come out with. Got the old members of the band, produced it in a studio from the 1970s, 1980s, and it's incredible.
I'm going to. I look forward to that. It's Hank Williams Jr., pulled up some of his dad's stuff and done a few things like that. And that's the thing about country. It has a lot of different levels. But when they start trying to do a rap and everything, I just go back to the roots.
Well, Bailey Zimmerman and Big X the Plug. He's a rapper. Bailey Zimmerman's kind of like a pop country guy. Look, it's great music if you want to classify it as pop or whatever. Yeah. It's not country.
Not country. And then there's country western, which was the original Hank Williams singer, in which my dad and mom would go out every time he came to town, and that was their night out on the town.
So if you guys notice, I'm not involved in this conversation because I'm not. My dad, my brother were devout western music fans,
and that was country western. Not country, but country western.
And I'm not.
Well, my grandpa loved Jimmy Rogers.
Oh yeah.
Jimmy Rogers. My grandpa also hated communists.
Oh yeah.
Oh, there you go.
I wonder.
Well, good for your grandpa.
Well, he fought in World War II, and I know we're going to be talking with Ken on the Vic for Vets segment.
Yeah.
I might bring up my grandpa, both of my grandpas,
but
absolutely.
The fact remains: one grandpa was Republican, one grandpa was Democrat, and they both hated communists.
But they're Americans.
They were Americans. They put their life on the line. Yeah. My one grandpa, Purple Heart, he was a Marine Corps sniper in Korea.
Amen. Semper Fi.
And both of them hated communists.
Yeah.
And now you see that Democrat Party is digging through the trash heap to find an immigrant Muslim former rapper communist to go against a disgraced former governor for the mayor of the once great city, New York City. I wanted to tap into, what are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, if he's elected,
if
I discussed this yesterday with John LaBoutiere, former New York congressman, who's a never Trumper, Reaganite, and he was blowing up my phone the day that it came in that this guy got elected for the primary. But generally, if you win the primary, you're going to win. And we're talking about that Curtis Sleewood probably needs to step out and show all of his support to Edwards. And then also the same thing, Cuomo. Cuomo said yesterday he was going to do his own party, but now I don't know if he is or not.
Yeah.
But this guy, I watched some of his speeching. He talking about, it should not be a crime to steal packages and stuff off of people's porches, and that's wrong. And well, I'll bet if it's a package you bought and paid for, but you guys don't buy and pay for anything. You take, and you don't contribute.
Yeah.
And
well, if you remember, I mean, the last 4 years of him giving Biden, I'm talking about the ultimate socialist,
right?
The administration giving up so much money to everybody. This is going to, if this happens, Larry, this guy's going to be able to open up grocery stores to give people food. He's going to do all these different
owned grocery stores,
government owned. But the thing is okay, that's going to be great for about 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
And so, but they've got the opportunity to do that here. And that's what I'm afraid of, is that people are going to say, well, what's wrong with giving away stuff?
Everything, the people that voted for him, that's something else we're talking about. He got a lot of the young college women in particular, as they just, I don't know where their heads are in many cases, but those he was appealing to, the under 50,000 earners a year, they didn't vote for him. He got those making 100,000 or more. Those in the lower category, they don't want him. They know what that story is about.
Yeah,
they're smarter than the college educated.
Right.
Well, this guy, when he was a rapper, this is back in 2022. Zoran, it sounds like a guy out of Marvel comic book.
Zoran Mamadi.
That's it. It was going to take me about 10 minutes to pronounce it, but in
Mamdani?
May 24th of 2022, he posts on X, or Twitter back then, we need to ban all guns. We need to ban all guns. And the amount of knuckleheads that are saying, yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah.
What has happened? Is it the educational institutions? Is it the news media? Is it a combination of all of them?
I think it is. And I think also a lot of them forget, or they weren't alive and don't know about what New York City was. To go down to New York City during the 70s and 80s, porn shops everywhere, drug needles everywhere. And Giuliani came in and cleaned that place up.
Yeah.
And it's been great to take your family. I wouldn't take my family back there right now.
No, neither would I.
Earlier this week, Vic and I, we played this audio. It was a little long, but it was audio from this woman who was a survivor from the Holocaust.
Oh, yes.
And she was talking about, okay, they started off to be really nice people, and they actually sounded like American politicians. And as things went on, they said, well, we're going to have you register your guns.
No big deal.
Just register them. And they thought, well, okay, we'll register them, make sure the bad guys don't, they know where they are. And then after that, they said, well, that didn't work. There's still a lot of crime in the city. So what we're going to need to do now is have you bring the guns in. And if you don't, it's a capital punishment. And that was the first step, that once they got the guns away from them, everybody, listen, that was it. They did not have any way to protect themselves from there on.
It's embarrassing that we should learn from history so we don't repeat it again. And those are the moments where you go to the Holocaust Museum and you, as a kid, high school kid, and you talk with your classmates, and hey, if we would have all just banded together and fought back, but without the guns, without the great equalizer, what our founding fathers knew, and in Federalist 46, our founding fathers even said, look, this isn't about hunting. This isn't about having a gun that's subpar to the government. This is about having the same exact type of arms as our government does to keep them in check.
And Mr. Connors, on a final note, she said, get guns and get more guns.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Say that again. I interrupted you.
She, on a closing note, she said, get guns, get more guns if you can.
Yeah, that's right. I was just going to correct you. It's not Mr. Connors. You know that.
But it's Mr. Connors.
It's your neighborhood.
Yeah, Larry.
Well, change it to Commander Connors.
Oh, okay. All right.
Well, Mr. Commander Connors, the legend, what can we expect today on your show? And heading into next week, heading into an Independence Day, you're one of the most patriotic individuals that I know. What do you have planned heading into this great holiday?
Well, for the program today, I've got Hans von Spakovsky on. I know you guys have Susie coming up later discussing the Supreme Court rulings that have been released. As I walk through the door, a couple more are being released. So, we'll be getting into that in more detail as what is available. And as far as going into next week, for one thing, I've been trying to put a schedule together to make a trip out to the World Series of Poker in Vegas. I just can't seem to get my flights, my times down where it's going to work. I don't like being off the air. You know?
Yeah.
I'm afraid something will happen. I had actually put all this together 2 weeks ago before we hit Iran, and I just canceled everything.
Yeah.
Forfeited some as non-refundable, but I'm not going to be out of this chair if we're going to have that begin to develop.
Yeah.
But then in 12 days, Trump resolves it. Well, I bet on the wrong horse there.
Well, yeah. I mean, the night that Israel struck Iran,
yeah,
we had all these stories going, and then it's like, okay, well, back to the drawing board now.
Yeah.
And then they said a ceasefire, and then we thought, okay, ceasefire. So we got all that material together, and then they broke the ceasefire.
Yeah.
So we had all that. It was just really the news.
Daddy called him out, right?
Daddy called
is
him out,
home.
buddy. You got that right.
Daddy is home, and Daddy is in Mr. Connor's neighborhood every single week here on the Vic Porcelli Show.
You.
Hey, it is an honor to have you
It's
on
a
the
pleasure
same
to be on
station.
the air with you.
Absolutely.
I listen to you all the time. I never get a chance to be in the studio with you.
Well, next time I'll have to bring some of the treats that Mark Sutherland's going to bring.
Oh yeah,
this weekend.
I
on
know
St.
some of those
Charles.
treats. In fact, he's been an advertiser before, and I love what he's doing out in Defiance with the new location. And Pogue, of course, is helping with that, and others. And that Stolock whiskey is pretty smooth stuff, I have to admit.
Stolock whiskey.
Mark, I'm going to send you a bill for that.
Yeah. And if anybody knows whiskey, Larry does.
Commander Connor.
Commander
thank
Connors.
you, gentlemen.
Thank you for letting us
Thank you, guys.
in your neighborhood.
Thank you. God
Mr.
bless.
Connor's neighborhood.
God bless.
On the Vic Porcelli Show.
Well, from one fiery guest to another, we are going to have the birthday boy, former Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft, to talk everything happening in New York, happening with the census, and with the Supreme Court here on the Vic Porcelli Show. Newstalk STL 1019 94.1. We'll be right back.
It's Friday.
Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. You're listening to the Vic Porcelli
As
Show.
President Lincoln said,
What, do you have a cough due to cold?
Made in St. Louis for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The big, beautiful bill will result in a lot of tax implications. We'll speak with Grover Norquist of Americans for Tax Reform on what it all means for you.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL.
Hi, Mark Harder here. We all know that the hardest part of staying healthy is dragging yourself to the gym. I felt the same way, but I knew I needed to find a routine I could actually stick to. I recently discovered Alloy Personal Training, and I have been blown away by their approach. At Alloy, each session is different. They never have more than 6 people in a class, which allows me to get the attention I need. Right now, Alloy is giving away free 14-day trials with 2 locations in Baldwin and 1 in Wildwood. Visit alloypersonaltraining.com. Hope to see you in my next session.
Experience the true flavors of Mexico at Dos Primos, O'Fallon's premier Mexican restaurant. From sizzling fajitas to homemade caldo de pollo, every dish is crafted with the freshest ingredients and traditional recipes, all made fresh daily in our kitchen. Cool down with our famous margaritas or your favorite cerveza, while our friendly staff makes you feel like family. Dine in or carry out. Visit DosPrimosMexicanRestaurant.com or find us on North Main in O'Fallon.
Are you sitting on hidden treasure? Manchester Coin and Jewelry wants to turn your valuables into cash. We're Missouri's premier gold buyers and jewelry specialists with years of expertise. We offer top dollar for your coins, antiques, precious metals, and collectibles. From gold and silver to clocks and jewelry, we buy it all. Don't let your treasures collect dust. Let Manchester Coin and Jewelry give you the best value. Visit online at buyingvaluables.net or come see him today at 141 in Manchester and tell him Newstalk STL sent you.
Tim Jones here. Being a recovering lawyer, don't call me for your legal needs, but you should call Todd Sivia and the fine folks at Sivia Law. At Sivia Law, they'll help you through all of life's transitions, providing you with legal services in the areas of estate planning, elder law, special needs, real estate, personal injury, and much more. Locations across Western Illinois and Eastern Missouri, including right here in Creve Coeur and Wentzville. Call Sivia Law today for any and all of your legal needs. 833-995-WILL. CiviaLaw.com, CiviaLaw.com.
Dude, this house is perfect. Crumbs everywhere, sticky counters. I've already texted the colonies.
Sweet. I'll bring my 500 cousins. This'll be the biggest ant rager of the summer.
Let's party! Wait, oh, what's that sound? Oh, no, it's those trucks with the green wheels. Party's over, man. Party's over.
This is Derek, the owner of All Solutions Pest Control. We'd love to help you out. Give us a call today at 636-486-7888 to learn more about our special $67 offer.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control.
Mr. Connor's Neighborhood, brought to you by Proctor Drapery Blinds and Shutters. Proctor, spelled like doctor. ProctorDrapery.com. Talk lines are open now at 314-912-1019.
Whoosh.
The Vic Porcelli Show. On Newstalk STL.
You don't have to be Italian to do that.
Yeah, but he does it the best.
He does it the best. Nobody does it like Vic Porcelli. That's why you guys have won awards on this show.
Yeah, really.
Well, I do feel responsible. I'm going to have a moment of clarity here. I'm not Vic Porcelli. I'm Nick Schroer. And I feel responsible for putting my good friend Jay Ashcroft through so many Fridays of birthday after birthday after birthday. But today, even though I get to say happy birthday, there's also congratulations are in order, Mr. Secretary Jay Ashcroft.
Well, happy birthday, Senator. Thank you very much. And what a pleasant surprise to have you guest hosting.
Absolutely.
Is this going to be a permanent thing? One day of you, and they're going to decide they're going to toss Vic and just have you come on every day?
I don't think I would ever win an award. And I'm still humbled by the fact when people say that they were listening to Stand and Fight. We've got a new show coming out, St. Charles Patriot Radio. But I think you're going to have a new beginning, so to speak, if the rumors are true. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Sure. I've been offered the opportunity, a very gracious opportunity from the governor's administration to be an administrative law judge. That's a kind of a quasi-judicial thing in the executive branch, dealing with workers' compensation claims, and I really appreciate the opportunity to do that.
Woo! Yeah, congratulations goes out to you, Mr. Secretary. And we do want to say that, we talked about the phone, and this is going to be Secretary Ashcroft's last appearance, at least for now, on the Vic Porcelli Show. We just want to say all the years that you've been on here, sir, you've been nothing but gracious with your time, and we really appreciate it. And best of luck to you in your new position.
You're going to make Vic pissed off at me now. He's going to think that I'm the reason why you're not coming back on.
He will.
Just tell him that, I called in and he didn't even have the time to be on the show, and I said, forget it, I'm done.
I'm done.
Well, before you have to go on to bigger and better things, we get that. I want to get your take on something dealing with the census. The president recently has been saying that he may be wanting to exclude non-citizens from the census. And I've got a breakdown with Franklin from Massachusetts, these old cases that show that he may actually have the ability to do this, and the Supreme Court may even side with him. What is your take on changing the census and excluding? Because I know that's something that you were heavily involved in with redistricting and getting the census. What is your take? Do you think the president has the ability? And if he does, will a new administration be able to just reverse that as well?
I think he does have that ability. Unfortunately, that means the new administration probably could just reverse it. Several years ago, I actually led a group of about secretaries of state to work on letters to the president in President Trump's first term, explaining why it would be helpful to us if they asked a citizenship question on the census. And that's a big deal. And I don't know if you saw the news, you probably did, but just this morning, the Supreme Court came out and said, you know what? These universal injunction by courts that came about because of the birthright citizenship case, those don't seem good either.
Well, that's a great segue because I've got it pulled right up. It's breaking news. The Supreme Court narrows.
I knew you'd know.
I'm right here. And I know you being an attorney and a knowledgeable one, that you would have some insight on this as well. We're getting mixed reviews online as I'm just trying to, I haven't had a chance to actually read the case, but getting mixed reviews, but it seems like it's going to be a case by case by case by case challenge, maybe having thousands of these injunctions being put into place instead of a universal one. Do you think this is a victory for the Constitution?
It is a victory for the Constitution. Our courts, as you know, are only supposed to deal with actual controversies. And to have an actual controversy, you have to have people that are against each other in some respect. And courts have jurisdiction at the greatest only on those people that come before them. When you are part of the lawsuit and you have your day in court, then the judge is supposed to have some authority within the law. But when you aren't even a member, when you don't even come before the court, when you aren't even a party, the courts aren't supposed to have jurisdiction over you generally. And we've had judges that have just said, I can do whatever I want because I wear a black robe and I'm a federal judge. And this Supreme Court decision, I mean, it's not a normal decision because it's on the emergency docket. But what it's really said is we don't see where the authority is for these universal injunctions. They will continue to be fought. This isn't the be-all and end-all, but this is an important step in stopping this overreach of the courts.
We're talking to former Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft, who has just announced breaking news here on the Vic Porcelli Show. We can at least tell Vic that. That we broke the news on this show first. Jay Ashcroft is moving on to bigger and better things as an administrative law judge. And speaking of the courts, what's left of SCOTUS? Susie Moore, our next guest who's going to be on, we're going to break down some of these things, some of the cases that are still outstanding that we could hear some results on today. Is there one that you're looking for in particular that could shake up the dynamic in the United States?
You know, I thought this one with the universal injunctions in some respects was the biggest one because they're not going to come down with birthright citizenship as a whole that wasn't before the court. This, I think, really shows that there is a path to make real changes to get the court back where it ought to be. I was a little worried about it because I didn't think the court has been willing to reach down to misbehaving district courts and set them straight. And they still haven't been, but maybe this is kind of turning the page. And I think it shows that Trump was right. You have to force the issue.
Trump was right again.
Court is not willing to do the right thing just because they have the opportunity. You kind of have to say you're either going to do the right thing or you're going to do the wrong thing, but you have to make a decision. That's the only way to get the Roberts Court to occasionally do the right thing.
And Jay, this may be because I'm not an expert in law, but the birthright citizenship ruling, I kind of thought that it would be, okay, because they ruled it this way, that it would, now the courts will be flooded with individual injunctions. You know what I'm saying? Is that
they may be, that may happen. What my hope is not that they are flooded with individual injunctions, but that once there have been a couple of them, the Supreme Court would act judiciously and say, okay, there have been several lawsuits on this at the lower level. Let's have the Supreme Court reach down and make a final opinion so that we do have the right people, well, at least the best we can, that's what we have, making a universal decision for the United States instead of individual federal judges. I mean, the United States Supreme Court needs to get more involved when stuff's going on and say, hey, wait a minute, that's important. We need to reach down and make a decision so there's certainty and consistency.
Well, then this is a follow-up question. And do you think that overall, since over the last 4 years of things that have been happening, that the Supreme Court seems to have lost their teeth a little bit?
You know, I would say that over the last 4 years, the court has been better than it has been over the last 40, but that's an extremely low bar. And I definitely think that the Chief Justice is adverse to bad PR. And when you're a judge, you have to deal with what comes to you. And you can be an activist judge by doing what you don't have to do and by going beyond the law. You can also be an activist judge by refusing to stand up and say, no, this is what the law says. This is what we have to do.
Yeah.
And I don't think we have as much of the activists, we're going to make the law whatever we want it to be. But we've swung to the other side where it's like, well, we don't want them to call us activists for saying, no, you're wrong. The law says this. Right. That's not activist. That's doing your job. I hate it when judges refuse to do their job. It's just like in, you know, the NBA finals when the referees swallow their whistles. You're not changing the game by by calling fouls that are fouls. You're changing the game when you don't call the fouls and you don't enforce the rules the way you're supposed to.
Good analogy.
That's exactly it. Well, I've got one last question for you, and I don't know with your new position if you can dive deep into it, but I'm a little disturbed by what we're seeing in New York right now with this communist that has been elected in the primary. And going back to what he said in 2022, we need to ban all guns. He's also said that there needs to be a tax on certain white individuals in New York. And he even said, look, let's bring it on, Donald Trump. You're going to have to arrest me because I'm not going to assist you in getting these illegals out. Well, Tom Homan had a reaction to that saying, all right, bring it on. Bring it on. What do you think? Do you think that we are at a breaking point in this crazy politics where the left has gone bonkers, full communist? Is this what it's actually going to take to bring us back towards the middle?
You know, I think in one respect, this is a blessing in disguise, because I think this is revealing what New York was like. They're saying what they're not supposed to say. They're saying it out loud. And, you know, one of the things you need to realize in politics, you don't understand this, is when people tell you who they are, listen.
Yeah.
And this is the Democrat Party telling us who they really are, telling us straight up, they don't care about law and order. They don't care about you and me. They care about themselves. And I'm glad that they're being so clear about it. I love to see Tom Homan and what he will do. And, you know, I just invite the mayor to come to Missouri and try to take away our guns. Try that in Missouri. And, and I think we'll take care of that problem in no time. I mean, the U.S. has beaten the communists before. If it requires Missouri to do it, I think we're up to the job.
I've seen Red Dawn, and we win.
Right. And Jay, you know what's really telling also is the fact that AOC and her squad are right behind this guy, and they're really promoting him. I mean, that is a wing of the United States representatives.
Crazy Bernie.
I mean, and Bernie Sanders as well. I mean, those are leaders in our national government that are doing this.
Look, this is just a continuation. These are the same people that said that men are women, and we don't really know what women are. We can't define that because we're not a biologist. I mean, this is just a continuation of the idiocy and the mental problems with some of our elected officials. And I'm glad to have it out in the open so we can deal with it.
Yep.
Yeah, this is it's like a show and tell of who needs mental health care in America right now. Well, somebody who doesn't need it, but needs a birthday wish, Jay Ashcroft. You can follow him on X, at least for the time being, at Jay Ashcroft Mo. And Jay, it's been a pleasant year this year having your wife there serving with Governor or Lieutenant Governor Wassinger. What is her take on all of the dynamic in the Senate this year?
You know, it's been a big learning experience for her. I think it's been intriguing for her. She's been kind of on the periphery, having to listen to it because of what I was doing for the last 8 years. And she's complained about me listening to filibusters while she was trying to sleep before. I think she's loved it. I think she's really enjoyed her boss. I think she loves the idea of being consequential. And let's face it, everybody's always liked Katie more than me.
Hey, that's how it is in my household as well. My girls even love my wife more than they love me. But Jay, we love you here on News Talk. We wish you the very best. And I think Ken's got some wise parting words for you.
Well, no, not wise. I just want to say, Mr. Secretary, it's been a pleasure. And I mean, Vic called it. Whenever we would have a conversation with Mr. Secretary Ashcroft, he would say, "Well, I don't think you're done. I know you're saying you're retired, but we don't think you're done." And we just think that it's wonderful that you've got another opportunity. And again, we really appreciate your time here. And for one last time, I just want to send this off to you.
Happy birthday! Happy birthday. God bless you. Have a wonderful weekend in Missouri.
Have a wonderful weekend, a wonderful Independence Day. Jay Ashcroft. Boy, we're going to miss having him on here. He's a ball of energy.
Yeah.
And you never know the raw truth that you would get from him. And he's not done.
No, he's not done. And we'll be keeping tabs on him. I mean, I'm sure he's going to be too busy to be doing a lot of, radio. And being a judge, it's a little bit different situation. Yeah. And so we completely understand that. I think the only unfortunate thing is that Vic's not here because I'm sure genuinely he would have loved to seen him off, himself.
Yeah.
I tried to call him, but he's on the road. And
well, we could probably arrange that at some point. Maybe a sit down after he's been a judge for a couple months to figure out.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's a very smart guy. I think all the different things that he did in his career as an attorney, as a politician, several other things. It's kind of like one of the guests that we're going to have later on in the show, Jim Avery, who's done dang near everything, was a former politician, went on to create his own businesses as an attorney, went on to serve our nation. It was several times deployed, and we're going to have him on as he's running for office down in Jefferson County.
Oh, good.
We've also got a fighter, Dr. Mollie James, who stood up during COVID, was a whistleblower, doctor, a surgeon, stood up during COVID saying, this is not right. We're going to tell you about her story and the healthcare clinics that she's opening up in our state and others that are going crazy. It's going wild because it's actually helping people.
Oh, good. And I also wanted to say about Jay Ashcroft that it's great to have a good conservative in his position that he's going to have. I mean, that's so important. And we're finding out more and more the judges, how important they are across the country.
Yeah.
So that's going to be really good. I wanted to ask you, can you give us an idea on what you're going to be doing this weekend on Stand and Fight and your new show?
So the new show we're going to have on St. Charles Patriot Radio, we've got the co-host of Richard West, who's going to be on later in the show. We're going to close out the show today with him to discuss some things that have been happening in Jefferson City with the Kansas City billionaire boondoggle bailout. But we're also going to have Tom Shaw, who is a massive realtor. They're celebrating with Tom Shaw Realtors 100 years. No, it's not that Tom Shaw. He's not 100 years old. It was his dad and his grandpa, but he is coming in. He's like the godfather of St. Charles County. We've got Sheriff Scott Lewis coming in, who's also the historian of the second oldest city in St. Charles County, which is Cottleville, and Mark Sutherland. Probably going to bring some good treats as he is Stone Ledge Spirits. And he's got a distillery in Defiance, Missouri. All of that's going to happen on Sunday before Stand and Fight. But don't go anywhere because we still have more fireworks with Susie Moore. What's happening with the U.S. Supreme Court and Trump winning again here on the Vic Porcelli Show.
Whoosh.
When you're approaching retirement, there are a lot of questions to answer. Do you have enough money to fund your income for life? How should you claim Social Security? And what's your plan for health care and long-term care? Hi, I'm Eric Robert, Director of Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 9 on NewstalkSTL 1019. Don't leave your retirement to chance. It's crucial to understand and address relevant risks before you retire. Our team can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com. Or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Jamie Allman here with the Allman Report. Pleased to be with Jordan Rosenblum. Google the bagel loan. That's what it's all about. Jordan, tell me about purchasing a home, brother.
Purchasing a home right now, it's a tough market. You're going to see a lot of competition. On the bagel loan that we have, you're going to have no closing costs, no title fees, no appraisal fees, no lender fees. Saves an average client almost $4,000 on a transaction. Customer service, unbelievable. Text, call anytime.
As I know, as a real estate agent, Google the bagel loan. Google the bagel loan, folks.
NMLS number 226715.
When it comes to spending your tax dollars and teaching your kids, governments and school districts should be an open book. But in Missouri, that's not always the case. Recently, the Show Me Institute sent out a sunshine law request to school districts across the state, asking for information on whether certain topics are being taught. Specifically, a controversial one called critical race theory was included in the list. Many districts didn't respond. Some wanted to charge large fees to process the documents. Lee's Summit outside Kansas City wanted over $35,000. A rural district, Morgan County, wanted $15,000. The Sunshine Law does allow charging a reasonable fee for sending out information, but there's nothing reasonable about $35,000 or $15,000. These districts should want to be transparent about their curriculums. Taxpayers deserve to know what their kids are being taught. Learn more at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNVS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at NewstalkSTL.com.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rex Thomason.
On the final day of its current term, the Supreme Court is releasing some high-profile rulings. Among them, a case out of Maryland. The High Court is allowing parents to pull their kids out of school classes that use LGBT storybooks. Also, the court is limiting the power of lower courts to issue nationwide injunctions.
In a 6-3 vote, the High Court's conservative majority handed the Trump administration a major legal victory. The Supreme Court is putting the brakes on district judges who issue nationwide injunctions to stop a president's executive orders. The ruling stems from Donald Trump's order to end automatic birthright citizenship for children of undocumented immigrants. Justices, however, did not specifically rule on birthright citizenship, only on curbing the power of a single judge to block such policies for the entire country. Greg Clugston, the White House.
Another pending ruling, a decision on a Texas age verification law for access to online porn. President Trump not budging on his July 4th deadline for Congress to get a spending and tax cut bill to his desk.
Simply put, this bill is going to unlock the golden age of America. And we look forward to continuing to work with the Senate and the House to see this bill on the president's desk for signature by Independence Day.
White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt talking about the so-called Big Beautiful Bill. Following a classified Senate briefing, Senator Tom Cotton says there is no doubt the U.S. and Israel have struck a major blow to Iran's nuclear program. And Iran's foreign minister is acknowledging significant damage to his country's nuclear infrastructure. Watching Wall Street this morning, a rally underway. The Dow up 381 points, while the NASDAQ is ahead 75. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Mike Gallagher here, host of the Mike Gallagher Show. If you know me, you know I only put my name behind people and companies I trust. When it comes to mortgages, I trust Mike and Brian at Fellowship Home Loans. They're not just friends. They've done loans for me, my family. I've seen firsthand how they treat every client like their family. And these days, that personal touch really matters. With the cost of everything up, you might be looking for ways to free up cash. Maybe you're thinking about a cash-out refi or HELOC to finish some home projects, consolidate debt, or just get ahead financially. Fellowship is a full-service direct lender, not a broker. They cut out the middleman. That means faster decisions, fewer fees, and less stress. Whether you're buying your first home, downsizing, or refinancing to get some breathing room, they'll tailor fit the loan to your life. Get started at fellowshiphomeloans.com/MikeG, fellowshiphomeloans.com/MikeG, or call 800-510-MIKE, 800-510-6453. Fellowship Home Loans, mortgage lending by the book.
Nationwide Mortgage Bankers, DBA Fellowship Home Loans, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS number 819382.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Great news. The temperatures are coming down a little bit. Highs today only reaching about 91 degrees. Still humid out there, so it'll feel like the upper 90s when you step out. Watch the afternoon and early evening as some scattered showers and thunderstorms are possible, especially if you are south of the I-70 corridor. This weekend also bringing chances for scattered showers and storms. The humidity stays until early next week. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Leah Hill.
This hour, the Vic Porcelli Show, brought to you by Proctor Drapery Blinds and Shutters. Proctor, spelled like doctor. ProctorDrapery.com. Vic Porcelli.
Come on, you're Italian. You understand.
Every day is a busy day all of a sudden.
You talking to me? You talking to me?
Tough and smart, and I love Italian, so, he's definitely Italian.
At least I have this show to come and talk about it and let some stuff up.
What kind of a show are you guys putting on here today?
The Vic Porcelli Show.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Second hour is upon us here on the Vic Porcelli Show. And if you're just joining us, I'm sorry, because we had some breaking news. We had some great guests, but we've got even more good guests in the second and third hour here on News Talk STL. Ken, I hope you're not sick of me yet.
Not at all.
Okay.
Okay. We've always had fun. I mean, even when we were working on a weekend show.
We almost had our own show.
Almost. But you know what was really interesting about that? We were asked about it and said, you know what? I don't think Nick's done. I think he needs to go to back to the Missouri legislature. And you did.
Well, we now have people who were in the legislature. They're moving on to ALJs and other judges. One judge I want to bring up in particular is Justice Sotomayor, who is not reserving her hatred of Donald Trump right now. She says that there is no right that is safe in the new legal regime that the court creates. And somebody that I think may have something to say about that is our next guest.
Oh, Susie Q, baby, I love you. Susie Q.
I'm the boss. How about that?
I should have listened to Susie more from the beginning.
I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right about that.
Susie Moore, Smoozy Q, Deputy Managing Editor at RedState.com. Susie, I've been waiting. When I knew that I was coming in and I saw it just aligned perfectly with the Supreme Court giving us Christmas gifts. I could not wait until this segment. How excited are you on a day like this?
I think I put it earlier that I was nervous as a cat on a hot tin roof.
Yeah.
Wow. It's because I'm not just that I'm excited to see the opinions, but I know that we have to cover them and make sure that like they're getting written up and appropriately and kind of, field a bunch of different information all at once. So it's a little nerve wracking, but yeah, this is like Christmas for law nerds.
See, Susie, we were talking to Jay Ashcroft earlier, and he kind of mentioned the fact that the Supreme Court just needs to put their head down and rule on their own, just not worrying about what's being said outside in the media.
Well, ideally, that's what they do. Ideally, they aren't making their decisions based on what's said in the media, but, they aren't hermits. They aren't isolated. Clearly, there are times when they are aware of what's going on in the outside world, and I'm sure that factors in sometimes. I mean, how could it not? Like when you have big protests and stuff like that. But no, their decisions aren't supposed to be based on public opinion. They're supposed to be based on the Constitution and the law.
It should be. It should be originalism. It should be the rule of law and not legislating from the bench. Well, there was one that broke before today, and that was I think it was the South Carolina case dealing with Planned Parenthood. Can you just briefly go over that and tell our listeners how important that is and if that will have some implications here in the state of Missouri?
It could very well. Basically, that one in a nutshell is just that, the states can decide not to, in fact, they're supposed to not fund or use Medicaid funds to fund abortion or Planned Parenthood, I should say. And that someone can't individually sue them over that. Planned Parenthood can't, an individual can't sue a state for failing to cover things with Medicaid funds. So I think it's just kind of reinforcing a notion that we've had for a long time, and that is that taxpayer dollars should not be going towards to paying for things, funding things that people have conscientious objections to, and very strong ones at that. And we're talking about the abortion issue and Planned Parenthood. I think people can really understand why that's important.
This next case that broke while we were talking to Jay Ashcroft, it kind of has me ticked off, not because of the result, but because of the media response to it. And I brought up Fox News. I brought up CNN. I like to compare them all the time. And Fox News right now has SCOTUS rule on Trump's birthright citizenship order, testing the lower court's powers. On CNN, there was a headline that was very similar to that, and it changed in real time during my last segment. And it changed to Supreme Court limits ability of judges to stop Trump. This isn't about Trump. This is not about Trump. And this is one of the problems that I have with the mass media. But can you explain a little bit about what this decision does and its far-reaching tentacles?
Yes, I can. As a matter of fact, this is one that I've been bird dogging the entire time, and it's one I got the honor of writing up this morning, and so was pleased when the decision came down first, so I could focus on it instead of talking to you guys. It's the birthright citizenship case, but it's not about birthright citizenship. So that was one of the first things that people need to realize. When President Trump took office again this time, of course, he issued a bunch of executive orders. One of the first ones was basically declaring that, being born in this country doesn't automatically entitle you to citizenship, which, of course, has been the practice for many years, but has never been really 100% definitively decided as to whether or not the Constitution provides for that or not. So he issues the order, and of course, immediately a whole bunch of states sue him in a bunch of different, let's just say, blue state-friendly courts. And those judges very quickly issued injunctive relief, temporary restraining orders, and then preliminary injunctions saying, you can't do that, Mr. President. And they did those with what they call nationwide injunctions, meaning this is not allowed throughout the land. It doesn't just apply in this court or in this jurisdiction. So the Trump administration challenged that. That went up before the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court today decided the Trump administration is right. Nationwide injunctions, at least in this context, are an overreach by the district courts, and they need to narrow their rulings, and it needs to be focused on the parties and players in front of them and not nationwide. Now, originally, I'm almost done, I promise. Originally, the thought was this was just as to this context, and it wouldn't necessarily hold for some of the other cases, like, cases that have been brought under the Administrative Procedure Act. There's a whole bunch of cases out there against the Trump administration where these nationwide injunctions have been entered. But the way that the court ruled today seemingly is broad enough to at least brush back this practice in those other contexts as well. So this is a big win for the Trump administration.
Okay, Susie, so let's play this little game. How do you think that the Democrat Party, because you know that they're going to try to combat this?
Well, I mean, there's always going to be the back and forth. A court rules one way, the opposition does the opposite to try and figure out a way around it. That's just the nature of the game, and that works in both directions.
Well, I know you want to stick strictly to the legalese of everything, but I'm talking about like the Boston judge who just said, "No, screw the Supreme Court. I'm going to rule my way." I mean, I'm talking about let's decide on what the Democrat Party really is going to try and do, even outside of the legal system.
Sure. No. I understand what you're saying. I was just prefacing it that knowing that there's a couple different layers here. The Boston judge in that case, now that's a separate case, and that doesn't have to do with nationwide injunctions.
Right.
But let's back this up and look at the big picture. This is a pretty strong message from the Supreme Court, pretty much a rap on the nose of the district courts, like, hey guys, you are exceeding your authority. You're going too far. You need to rein it in. And we've been waiting for this. We've been waiting for it for several months.
Wow.
It doesn't specifically apply, for instance, in that case, but we're going to get a ruling from them on that case pretty soon. It doesn't specifically do that, but it lets these lower court judges know that they've gotten too big for their britches. And there's a key passage in Amy Coney Barrett's decision today that if I can find real quick, I will point you to. And this is why I think this is important. She says, when a court concludes that the executive branch has acted unlawfully, the answer is not for the court to exceed its power too.
Yeah,
So
well, that makes sense.
This is big, and judges like Brian Murphy in Massachusetts, all of the district court judges that have been so hot to trot on reining in the Trump administration are, I am sure, looking back at their decisions now and looking at the decisions ahead of them and thinking, okay, maybe I need to cool my jets a little bit. I think this is really big in terms of sending a message to those lower courts, even ones that aren't dealing with this specific issue.
And I just wanted you to confirm that. I'm really happy to hear. It's really good to hear, actually, that this is going to be a powerful thing for the Trump administration. I think it's going to help them in the long run. The only question that I had was, now what are we going to get, a flood of injunctions locally now?
Well, we already have that. I mean, there's 345 some odd cases going on right now about the Trump administration. So, and not all of them involve nationwide injunctions. That flood has already happened.
Okay.
Well, we are talking right now with Susie Moore, Deputy Managing Editor at Red State, and knower of all things in the legal realm. And let me just stop here for a second because we have some breaking news.
Uh-oh. What is that breaking?
We were supposed to have some. There it is. There it is. More breaking news from the U.S. Supreme Court. Mahmoud versus Taylor has been decided. Supreme Court sides with parents seeking to opt out of children being force-fed mandatory LGBTQ plus IA2 Spirit Storybook hours. Susie, can you tell us about this one?
Yeah, so this is the Maryland case involving parents. And actually, interestingly enough, the parents in this case are kind of a group of, there's some Muslims, there's some Catholics, there's some Ukrainian Orthodox parents. I mean, so this is not like what you would normally think of in terms of a coalition of people with a religious objection. But this school district, this Montgomery Public Schools, has a curriculum that includes instruction on LGBTQ related issues. And rather than a system that would inform parents ahead of time and allow them to perhaps opt their kids out of that portion of the curriculum if they didn't feel like it was consistent with their religious beliefs, this school district said, no, we're not going to inform you and you don't have the option to opt out.
Wow.
So, this was almost a no-brainer. Even when it was argued before the Supreme Court, you could tell the justices were like, yeah, no. So not surprisingly, the court has said, yeah, no, parents do have a basic right here. And at a minimum, these school districts need to be giving them that information to deal with and the ability to opt their kids out on the basis of the freedom of religion.
Nick and Susie, I think it's really interesting to see that the Democrat, we always have to remind the Democrat Party that the parents have the ultimate authority on their children. And don't we? I mean, don't we?
Well, just imagine if that was extended to where they go to school.
You mean choice?
Yeah, that's exactly it. And that's something that I am excited for next year. But we are talking with Susie Moore, who's got an article, kind of breaks down all this, what's left at SCOTUS. And you're doing a great breakdown of all of these different cases that we are expecting to come out today. Are there any that I've missed so far that they've issued orders on?
No, I mean, this is the last day. This is it. They issued 5 decisions today. We knew there were going to be 6. The 6th one is the one about redistricting in Louisiana, and it sounds like they're sending it back for re-argument.
Oh, okay.
The other cases that weren't quite as sexy, if you will, didn't grab as many headlines. There's one about age restrictions on adult material websites out of Texas, which they said, yeah, it's okay to have age restrictions. That's not a First Amendment infringement. There's one about the setup of this, I don't know, this FCC board and that sort of thing. There's some kind of not as interesting ones that people aren't going to be as undone about. But the big ones have all been had, and now we wait to see what they do with some of those emergency docket cases, like that case out of Massachusetts that Ken was referencing. Those could come at any time. So
you mentioned the ratings dispute about putting ratings on what is it, on pornography?
It's like age gating, age verification.
Okay. Well, then who is against that?
The Democrats.
The Free Speech Coalition is the name of the group that challenged, and they said that was a First Amendment infringement.
It's a little weird.
What a way to get around that. I mean, come on.
It's a little weird. I just don't. I think that some of these guys living in their mom's basements don't want to go back to the era where you had to pay for your pornography. I don't know.
Well, you need to give kids a chance to be able to sneak into a 17, an R-rated movie. Come on.
It is so easy right now. I mean, all of us being parents, having nieces, nephews, all of this stuff, we need as the adults to stand up. And I think that's just a common sense maneuver of making sure that kids don't have access to this stuff like they do with alcohol, tobacco, cigarettes, and more. Susie, I wanted to get your take with a couple minutes that we have left. I don't know what's been going on because I've got this new show, St. Charles Patriot Radio. We're going to have you on as you are a legal mind in St. Charles County. But what is going on with the parliamentarian drama that's happening in Congress right now? I've heard Congressman Onder talk about this. I've heard Chip Roy and others talking about this. And even Senator Thune has come out saying we're not going to overrule the parliamentarian. What is the status of what's going on there and its impact on the one big, beautiful bill?
Well, it certainly seems to be a snag in the passage of the one big, beautiful bill. But I can't say that I know and understand all the ins and outs. What I can glean from it is this: the Senate parliamentarian is a person whose role is to basically comb through this legislation and make sure that there's nothing that's being included in it that would violate the principle that because it's being done by reconciliation, it has to be the right stuff has to be in there and the wrong stuff can't be in there. Now, that's a judgment call. And the person who is the current Senate parliamentarian happens to have been someone who was appointed back when Harry Reid was the Senate leader, majority leader. And a lot of the stuff that she is saying, nope, this isn't proper in this type of bill, is stuff that people found important to making this deal and being on board with the bill. Senator Thune, the majority leader, as of right now, is basically saying he's not going to undermine the Senate parliamentarian. That's causing people some angst, and I understand that. But if I was going to give you my hunch on everything, it's that this thing is still going to make it across the finish line. Now, it may not have everything in it that everybody wanted, but that's just my instinct on it. I could be wrong.
Well, and if the Democrats succeed and we don't pass the one big beautiful bill or some iteration of it, the taxes, the Trump tax cuts will expire. Taxes will go up.
65%.
And the Democrats, I mean, you're a thinking person here. The Democrats are going to hang that on the heads of Republicans in the midterms, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. No, and that's why I think push come to shove, there's going to be people, I mean, I don't know. If there's ever a point where everybody in Congress is happy with the passage of a bill, or even everybody in the same party, be worried. Yeah. That means there's something really bad in there for some reason. But yeah, I mean, I think we're going to hear a lot of squeaking and squawking over the next week. But my gut says, at a minimum, the OBBB is going to cross the finish line, and we are going to get those tax cuts permanent, because that is the key to all of this.
You know, what's crazy is it never fails. If for some reason we've been finding out now, this parliamentarian, the Senate parliamentarian, I've never heard about before ever, and for some odd reason, because Trump's being challenged with his policies and with his big beautiful bill, that now we hear about this person who I don't ever remember hearing that the senators can be overrun by this person, or overruled by this person.
They can't be. That she doesn't have any authority. She makes recommendations, and the Senate decides whether or not to abide by them. And the reason you haven't heard much about the person in that role is because, first of all, they don't play a big role very often, because you're not talking about reconciliation all that often. And secondly, it's because Trump.
Well, one thing I want to
think that last part you made, that's an umbrella over everything.
Exactly. I was going to say, it's a day that ends in Y, and because Trump.
Well, I want to step outside of politics real quick. Last question to you. We got a couple minutes. This thing that fell from the sky.
How dare you?
Oh, come on, Greta. Come on, Greta. Jeez, I thought I left her on stand and fight, but she's here too. This fireball that fell from the sky. I saw you posted about it. I posted about it. We want to know what's going on. What is falling from the sky? Is there any update as to what happened? What was seen in the south falling from the sky?
The only thing I've seen is that they just think it was part of a meteorite. I know part of it landed in someone's roof. So, I mean, they're going to be able to study it, sure. But I think it was just basically, your random run-of-the-mill meteorite. But those things make a big splash when they come down, don't they?
Yeah, I was listening to an interview of a guy who I actually watch all the time on how the universe works. His name's Professor Sutter. And he said, yeah, it's just a meteor shower. This one just showed up during the daytime. But he said, we get this stuff all the time. I mean, every day. He said, but now we're heading into a meteor shower time period.
Oh, great.
So, I mean, you're going to be able to see this stuff at night too.
Is there going to be more of that shrapnel coming through? I didn't know if it was Hunter Biden throwing out a bag from
that could be too.
The airplane.
That could be too.
Okay,
but
space junk could become a big thing.
Yeah, it could eventually. But right now, I'm just saying that he said that. Well, this happens all the time anyway. Yeah. He said just so happens that one came down where everybody could see it.
Well, Supreme Court decisions happen all the time as well. Susie Moore, when can we expect a breakdown of these cases to be on Red State?
Well, so the big ones today, for instance, the one about birthright citizenship and nationwide injunctions is already up, because I was ready to go with it. And we're going to have very soon up our analysis on the Mahmoud versus Taylor case, which was the parental rights. And we are going to have one up on the First Amendment case involving the porn sites and the age restrictions. But my skinny on SCOTUS rundowns that I do regarding all of the cases that come down, I'm like three installments behind, because there's just been so many at the end.
Wow.
So I would say within the next week, we'll have the full rundown in my Skinny on SCOTUS series.
Well, we will be waiting patiently for that on redstate.com. Susie Moore, Deputy Managing Editor of Red State, thank you for joining us, and we can't wait for all of your synopsis.
Thanks, guys. Have a great weekend.
Have a great weekend. Have a great Independence Day, and we are going to have a great coffee break, because I didn't get much sleep. I need a little caffeine reboost. I need to figure out where Vic hides his good coffee.
I'll show you.
Okay, you show me.
But don't tell him I said that.
I won't.
Okay.
I won't. Hopefully he's not listening. You're listening to the Vic Porcelli Show. Nick Schroer, Ken Williams. We'll be back with more craziness here on News Talk STL.
Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. The Vic Porcelli Show.
Court will take a 60-minute recess for lunch.
Your Honor, I respectfully request a full day's continuance to go over all this stuff.
How dare you?
Now look here, I don't like that kind of talk. Now just stop it. It upsets me.
Made in St. Louis for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL.
Since 1995, Renewal by Anderson has helped St. Louis homeowners
upgrade with windows and doors. Now it's our 30th anniversary sale. You'll get $1,995 off every project. No gimmicks, real savings, and the nation's best warranty. The offer ends June 30th, so you don't want to wait. There are some restrictions. Visit rbastl.com. Renewal by Anderson. Superior products, exceptional service.
Hi, this is St. Louis County Councilman Mark Harder reminding you to check out my new show this weekend.
The St. Louis County Insider with Councilman Mark Harder.
That's me. Every Sunday evening at 5, we will explore with you behind-the-scenes stories and information that you won't hear anywhere else. Plus, we talk to decision makers and influencers that have impact on what's going on in St. Louis County and beyond.
The St. Louis County Insider with Councilman Mark Harder.
I'll talk to you Sunday night at 5, only on News Talk STL.
Hi, Kirk Hilsinger here, and I'm the new chairman of the St. Louis Republican Central Committee. I invite you to our meetings that take place the first Thursday of every month at 3710 Hampton Avenue. You can stay connected with us to learn more about how you can get involved, make your voice heard, and contribute to our shared goals. Together, we can make a difference in the city of St. Louis and the state of Missouri. For more info, visit our new website at stl-gop.com. That's stl-gop.com.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican PAC. Curtis Farber, Treasurer.
Tired of floors that don't stand up to real life? Hometown Floors has the solution. With 40 years of experience, they know floors. 100% made in the USA. Luxury vinyl, laminate carpet, pet-friendly, and built to last. Free in-home estimates, professional installation, and satisfaction guaranteed. Hometown Floors, making small business great again. Check us out at hometownfloorsonline.com.
News Talk STL. St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
Live and local.
Welcome home. And whoosh, sitting in traffic, stuck in a jam, and being entertained by Vic and Thunder Stealing Ken.
This is News Talk STL. Talk lines are open now at 314-912-1019. The Vic Porcelli Show.
I make this pledge to you today. I will never, ever ride a bicycle.
Made in St. Louis for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL.
You know, Ken, I saw a clip over the weekend, and I don't know if I'll play it this week. You'll have to tune in to Stand and Fight and the news show, St. Charles Patriot Radio, to see if I play it. And it was a guy talking about just imagine if Donald Trump drank alcohol or did any type of drug.
Oh, yeah.
Because all of these little quips and funny little clips that we get from him, he's sober. He's never drank a beer.
Right.
That's him.
And he's already abrasive enough. And I love his candor.
Yeah.
And we were just talking about this actually yesterday with Vic. He says that he's not running for re-election, so he doesn't care really what people are thinking. But he's very honest, and people don't like that honesty sometimes, and sometimes it hurts. But I appreciate it, and even if he were to say to me, look, you're doing everything wrong. Here's what you got to do. I would appreciate it. I may not agree, but I would appreciate it.
That's what we need in our politicians.
We do.
That's why I've been told countless times when I go door to door, and I'm very humble, and I'm whether somebody's running against me or not, I'm still out there campaigning, getting in touch with the people. And I always hear, never change. We need that pure honesty. We need you to fight back. I had, over the past 2 weeks, not kidding, 2 death threats that we had to turn into Capitol Police. We've had a laundry list of people smearing. And guess what? That comes with the job. But I'm going to fight back. That's why we stand and fight every Sunday, 6 to 8 p.m. Another guy who stands and fights and who is unhinged, who is just like Trump, is Tom Homan talking about the one big, beautiful bill.
We got over 600,000 illegal aliens with criminal histories walking the streets of this country. We got less than 5,000 deportation officers. This should be a no-brainer.
Yep.
The more resources we get, if we get this bill passed, we got more agents on the road. We buy more beds. We get more transportation flights. More agents mean more bad guys arrested, taken off the streets of this country every single day. Every day we arrest a public safety threat or national security threat. This makes this country much safer. Who the hell would be against that? And I get irritated. I get pissed off because I'm sick of meeting angel moms and dads. You want to talk about family separation? They bury their children.
See, that's what I don't understand. I mean, people are separated from their kids every day.
Yeah.
When you do something illegal in this country as an American, you're leaving your kids. Okay, and they do it every day.
As a full-blown citizen.
As a full-blown citizen, and nobody says a word. Nobody says, "How could you do this to this
How
family?
dare you?
How dare you tear this family apart? How dare you?
How dare you?"
I know. So when they say that to me, I'm just like, "What are you talking about?"
Right. There are
Why-
repercussions when you break the law, especially volatile laws, violent laws, drug laws, and you have your kids around. We just passed a bill in my crime bill this year that would deal with individuals lacing drugs with fentanyl when kids are around. That is a harm to the kids. We already know, and we have a laundry list of different crimes that the state can come in and say it's not in the best interest of your kid. We're going to take temporary custody of them and put you back on the right path. And these people broke into the country. Some of these individuals, not even with their own kids. We don't know if they're coyotes, if they're related to these kids. And now you have over 500,000 kids that I've heard from different experts that are missing right now under the watch of Joe Biden. But instead of the media talking about that, instead of the media focusing on actual reporting of where are these kids? Where are all these missing kids that Obama created cages for? Biden kept putting them in cages, and now they're just missing. We hear them attacking Trump time and time again. Like I said with Susie Moore, the headline on some of these SCOTUS decisions, Supreme Court decisions, it changed. It talked about what the Supreme Court did in the birthright citizenship cases, and it changed in real time to say, and I quote, Supreme Court limits the ability of judges to stop Trump. It shouldn't be about stopping Trump. It should be about enforcing the law and upholding the law. And the media is, again, partaking in media malpractice, which you sat through, Ken, today, listening to the show, so I don't have to.
Actually, that's true, and I want to get to that in just a minute. But sticking with what we're talking about right now, we talked about J.J. Carroll. He's a former Border Patrol agent. He actually was one of the captains, and he. Let me play this clip here for you. It talks about how the Trump administration is so pro-child in trying to find these kids, and how bad it was during the Biden administration. Listen to this.
In 2023, Correctional Hearings, Health and Human Services, Javier Becerra, and Director of Office of Refugee Resettlement, Robin Marcos, forced to admit that their agency had no contact with over 85,000 UACs. They were lost. What did DHS,
first of all, UACs are the children.
Yeah.
Okay.
HHS, and ORR do to correct this humanitarian disaster? Nothing. In fact, all three agencies created further policies and procedures to increase the efficiency of moving UACs from the border to the interior of the United States to unknown and unvetted sponsors.
Unknown and unvetted.
Unaccompanied alien children were being handed off to total strangers. Then they disappeared into the darkness of labor and sex trafficking. In fact, a year later, in August of 2024, the Inspector General, with oversight over DHS, issued a report stating the number lost UACs was not 85,000, it was over 320,000. My business partner, Ryan Matt, and I spent 6 months traveling across America, filming a documentary titled, What is Treason Trafficked? The evil of child sex trafficking is difficult to digest and understand. However, after conducting numerous interviews with officers, agents, and whistleblowers from every alphabet agency and department, it was made clear to us that the federal government knowingly and actively facilitated these criminal acts.
That's amazing.
But that last part, I don't know how, if you can play that again, how the federal government knowingly was partaking. Play that again if you can.
Yeah.
However, after conducting numerous interviews with officers, agents, and whistleblowers from every alphabet agency and department, it was made clear to us that the federal government knowingly and actively facilitated these criminal acts.
Wow. And what's being done about it?
This is the biggest problem we face as Americans, as conservatives, MAGA, whatever it is. We don't get a payoff.
Yeah.
These are officials that know what's going on. They've heard this, but we haven't gotten any convictions, no charges, no incarcerations whatsoever. And you have thousands of children that are facing this alone. They're alone. Okay. I don't care what you say. They might have people with them, fostering them, but they're alone in this, and they're vulnerable.
Oh, when I went to the border, I think it was last year, because I actually did the Vic Porcelli Show from the border.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And one of the things that stuck with me, the Border Patrol agents were showing us all of these different wristbands. And they said, look, these are trafficked kids that we pulled these wristbands off of. And the colors meant something different to whatever cartel and whatever coyote. however much they got paid, you get a different color.
Wow.
But then there were these, they called them a certain kind of tree. I don't know for the FCC if I can repeat what the Border Patrol agents were saying, but there were all kinds of clothing items, underwear, and teddy bears and stuffed animals. And this was like a treasure trove when the cartel would take advantage of these young kids and women.
And the biggest problem we face with this, I do believe, is a part of the propaganda wing of the Democrat Party.
Yeah.
And that would be the media.
Mainstream media.
You know, Nick, and I got to play this because this is something that happened to me this morning. I tell the Vic Heads and everybody that every day, I watch the Today Show so you don't have to, right? This morning, I had to make sure that I got this right. So what I did is I turned my phone on and I recorded what happened, what transpired between the reporter and them. And listen to how he says this.
Today Show.
The Today Show. We're talking about nuance because here, let me play it and I'll explain.
So they were saying that President Trump says the One Big Beautiful Bill is very popular among Americans. And then Alexander, whatever his name is, said that the One Big Beautiful Bill, however, is still extremely unpopular among Americans who are against it. Not kidding.
It's extremely Peter Alexander.
Yeah.
Okay. So he
I like
says,
the wordsmithing.
Yeah, and this is what it is, this nuance and this lying by omission, and then this statement that he made that it's very unpopular among Americans who are against it.
You know what else?
Well, okay, he didn't say among Americans. He said
right.
among Americans who
or
are against
Americans this age group.
But your casual person who's listening while they're taking a shower, or listening while they're shaving, whatever, they're hearing that it's extremely unpopular among Americans. They didn't hear the fact that are against it.
Well, it's kind of like saying that the One Big Beautiful Bill is very unpopular. That people who are dead just don't care about it.
Right.
Or black licorice, for example. I'm in the group of not liking black licorice. Black licorice is very unpopular to the people that don't like it.
Exactly.
What are we doing?
You nailed it.
What are we doing here? And look at it. Go to CNN, go to MSNBC. We see it on a daily basis. And what pisses me off is the fact that people are just sheep. People are sheep. Look, it happens on our side too. And I always light a fire under them to go do their own homework.
Yeah.
Don't just believe what the talking heads say. Don't believe what the newscaster who 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago was actually doing journalism and actually reporting the news with no spin. Everybody's putting a spin on it. I tell people all the time, I'm putting a spin on it, but I try to give you the most honest take from the conservative angle.
Exactly right. And this is what we tell everybody, Nick, is do your research. And you know what? It's so easy today.
Yeah.
I signed up for GPT. Yep. I signed up for a paid subscription now because it was so good. If I have a question, I ask it. And this entity, whatever this might be, scours the internet and comes up with, it could be up to 30 articles based around what I asked.
But even then, do your own homework.
But yes,
I've been utilizing AI. AI is not going anywhere. It's
Right.
not. So if you don't know how to harness it, if you don't know how to use it, you're going to be way behind.
Right.
So we've been utilizing that in my office. Legal practices are doing it. Medical practices are doing it now too. And we can talk a little bit more about that. We're running short on time. But the fact remains, even different legislation, you can compare bills. You can compare an omnibus bill versus the original bill, generate it, put it into ChatGPT, put it into Grok, which is free on Twitter.
Yeah.
And you can compare and say, give me a breakdown of what changes were made. And I'm even telling legislators this. Look, let's get teams. Let's get the grassroots together. We can utilize AI, but always check it. And I go back to about 2 years ago, we asked for a whole bunch of articles on a certain topic. I'd say about 85% of those articles were spot on. They told you the pros, they told you the cons. Well, this is in its infancy. About 2 years ago, ChatGPT just produced some weird articles. They said, oh yeah, this is the creme de la creme of what you're looking for. And it had nothing to do with that topic. So trust but verify.
And trust but verify, and also trust the AI you're using, because some of them are leaning, and that's what I did. I researched any available to me. And that's when I came up with ChatGPT. I like Grok as well, but I think it tends to lean a little right. I don't know for sure, but I do know that ChatGPT came out with the highest ratings of, different AI sources.
One guy who leans a lot right is going to be our next guest. I call him Captain America. There's not a thing that he can put his effort behind that he can't get done. It is Jim Avery, who's running in the 22nd district. Don't go anywhere. It's going to be a hell of an interview with this veteran business owner conservative champion, Jim Avery, next here on the Vic Porcelli Show.
Whoosh.
Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. The Vic Porcelli Show.
I have a theory. People talk loud when they want to act smart, right?
Correct! Made in St. Louis for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL.
When things go wrong, you want to go to somebody that you trust. So if a storm comes through and you're not sure if any of your roof was damaged during that storm, again, you want to go to somebody that you trust, and you can trust Connor Roofing. Do not trust Goober. No goobers. Connor will come out, take a look at your roof. They'll give you an honest estimate, and they'll, of course, give you quality work, whether it's fixing the roof or replacing the whole darn thing. You can always count on Connor for that. And great customer service. Go look up their Google reviews. They're great. They're awesome. And they have emergency storm repairs, exactly what we're talking about when those storms roll through. So Connor Roofing, Kathy and Rob Connor, two great friends of ours and people that we trust, and we will send you to them because we trust them. We wouldn't send you there otherwise, okay? So go to ConnorRoofing.com. That's ConnorRoofing.com, CONNER roofing.com.
On the next Larry Connors USA.
Former Biden aide says, I don't know who ordered the president's auto pen signatures. I was left in the dark.
Larry Connors USA. Now weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL.
Reed's Rockets in Wright City has your fireworks. Try the Max 800 shot for a 30-minute show. Want the ultimate American celebration? Get This Is America with over 100 gigantic color bursts. Family owned and operated, Reed's caters for families with the biggest kid selection. Spend $100 or more and get a kids assortment free. Reed's Rockets, 425 West Service Road North in Wright City. Take I-70 exit 199 and look for the big red and white striped tent. Open through July 10th. ReedsRockets.com.
Reed's Rockets in Wright City has your fireworks. Try the Max 800 shot for a 30-minute show. Want the ultimate American celebration? Get This Is America with over 100 gigantic color bursts. Family owned and operated, Reed's caters to families with the biggest kid selection. Spend $100 or more and get a kids assortment free. Reed's Rockets, 425 West Service Road North in Wright City. Take I-70 exit 199 and look for the big red and white striped tent. Open through July 10th. ReedsRockets.com.
Life's legal challenges deserve experienced representation. For over 15 years, Cole Combs Attorney at Law has been serving St. Charles and surrounding counties with comprehensive legal expertise. From tax preparation and estate planning to family law and criminal defense, Cole delivers personalized solutions for your unique situation. You have traffic tickets, need a business formation, real estate matters, one call will handle it all. Cole O. Combs Attorney at Law. Call 636-949-0010 extension 3 today or visit colecombs-law.com.
Fox News commentary.
A city in LA County is canceling 4th of July fireworks to coddle illegal aliens. I'm Tommy Lahren. More next.
I'm alpine skier Michaela Schifrin. I've won the most World Cup ski races in history. But what does success mean to me? Success means discipline. It's teamwork. It's the drive and passion inside of us. And it's why Stifel is one of the fastest growing global wealth management firms in the country. If you're looking for success, surround yourself with the people who will get you there. If you're an advisor or investor, choose Stifel, where success meets success.
Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated. Member SIPC and NYSE.
Past performance is no indication of future results. Investing involves risk. Consult a financial advisor before making any investment decisions.
Working hard to be as un-American as possible. Here's another part of it. The city of Bell Gardens in LA County has canceled its 4th of July celebration due to ongoing immigration enforcement operations city leaders say threaten the immigrant population. The decision was supposedly made out of an abundance of caution and out of sensitivity to illegal aliens and their concerns. And it's not just Independence Day celebrations. Bell Gardens is also canceling movie nights for the same reason. They deem it due to resident safety concerns because 96% of their population is Hispanic. I hope you all fully appreciate just how on brand this is for LA County. Isn't this just perfectly symbolic of the Democrat Party in these deep blue hellscapes? They will cancel a celebration of America to comfort and shield non-Americans who are here illegally. I'm Tommy Lahren, and you can watch my show, Tommy Lahren is Fearless, at Outkick.com.
Talk lines are open now at 314-912-1019.
Hi, it's Dr. Ben Carson, and you're listening to the Vic Porcelli Show on NewstalkSTL.
Yes, you are listening to the Vic Porcelli Show, and unfortunately, I don't know. Fortunately,
yeah.
I am Nick Schroer. Vic is out on assignment. He will be back Monday. We hope. I know he'll raise a little bit of hell like our next guest, but this is a guy who I know Vic would love. And I've been telling Vic about this race that's happening in Jefferson County for the 22nd district. And me being in the Senate, going on my third year now, I've said we need more fighters. We got rid of Bill Eigel with term limits, Bob Onder, he's now in Congress. We need more fighters. And boy, do we have one running, a guy who is a 3-time combat veteran who is in the U.S. Marine Corps from 91 to 95, Operation Restore Hope. You can find more at jimavery.com. Jim, thank you for taking some time to be with us today.
Hey, thanks, guys, for having me.
So the question, I'll let you go first.
Ken. No, I just wanted to, hey, Jim, Nick just showed me a picture of you holding something.
Some bomb.
What is that bomb you're holding, and is it live?
Well, I mean, it was a artillery round that the terrorists in Iraq had planted on the side of the road. It's something that we had dug up, and I think I don't know if it's in the picture, but if you could see, like, on the ground in front of that, there's some C4. We were getting ready to blow that up. So
oh wow,
I decided to get a picture with it. So I mean, it wasn't going to blow up because there was no detonation device at that point. So it was not dangerous. You know, in essence, it wasn't dangerous. I mean, you would think it was dangerous, but it wasn't just going to blow up somehow. You know,
Well-
not like basically it's a bullet at that point.
Well,
you know?
either way, Jim, it would look pretty badass. That's all I know.
Well, and that's
pretty
kind of
cool.
where I want to start with you, because everybody sees now that you're a very successful business owner, but it wasn't always like that for you. And you're living the American dream right now, but at some points in your life, you didn't know if it would be attainable or if it would be the American nightmare. Tell us about who Jim Avery is, where you started from before you got to the success that you have today.
Yeah. I was 17 years old and I was living out of my car. I had a bad home environment, and you know, I got lucky and I had a friend's mom take me in and provide me a place to live and food until I decided to join the Marine Corps. So, you know, I was homeless when I was 17, joined the Marine Corps and just kind of worked my way through life and figured out, you know, what I excelled at. I became a lawyer about 10 years ago. Started my own firm about 5 years ago, and I guess they say the rest is history. So, you know, if you would have told me 2 years ago that I was going to be running for state senator, I would have told you that you're crazy. You know, some of your listeners might not know, but I served in the Missouri House a long time ago when the Republicans took the majority. So, you know, I never thought I would do this again, but I kind of just have gotten sick of what's going on. And I can either complain about it or I can do something about it. Anybody that knows me knows that I'm a doer. So I'm not going to complain about it. I'm just going to go try to fix the problem myself.
Well, even when you became an attorney, you started serving the people and working with the people that have been injured in the state of Missouri. And you saw that you wanted to do it a different way, that you actually wanted to spend more time on their cases. You wanted to help them. You created your own firm. Is that the same kind of impetus behind this? Like, if not me, then who? Because this is going to be a massive pay cut for you if the people in Jefferson County, the 22nd district, elect you next year. It's going to be a pay cut for you. So what's the driving force behind just saying, yeah, I'm going to go serve the people like I did in the military, like I have been as their attorney, as a business owner? What's the driving force? Because for a lot of people, we've seen what happened with Trump, who took a big pay cut. It's going to be the same thing here.
Yeah. I mean, I don't make as much money as Trump, but I am, you know, somewhat successful. I'm doing okay. I've got, you know, about 12 employees total. So it's not like I'm a small firm. I'd say I'm a medium-sized personal injury firm. And, you know, I care about people. That's why I do what I do. That's why I'm involved in this line of work. You know, I do a lot of things for free for other people. I'm very giving. I do workers' compensation. As you know, Nick, I do work comp for free for first responders. I feel like if you're out protecting our community, if you're a cop or a firefighter or a paramedic and you get injured, I don't need to make money off that. So, you know, I do a lot of free stuff. I probably gave away $500,000 last year in pro bono legal work for first responders, but that's okay. I don't have to make all the money. Kind of the same thing going to the Capitol. I just, you know, I can sit here and complain about how bad Jeff City is and all the stupid things that they do. Or I can go up there and be the voice of reason and provide some leadership, which is what I think we're lacking. Strong leadership. You know, I'm not going to say that I know everything, but what I do know is that I know the difference between right and wrong, and I'm willing to stand for what's right 100% of the time.
We're talking to Jim Avery, a small business owner, attorney. You find more at his law firm, averyinjurylaw.com. He's a veteran, combat veteran, and candidate for Missouri Senate 22. Jim, what are some of the things, and we can find more on your website, jimavery.com, for the Senate stuff, but what are some of the big issues that you want to immediately tackle as soon as we get up there? I know you and I have talked about this debacle with the stadium funding. Yeah. So where does the focus need to be for the Republican Party come next year?
Hey, how about we actually pass bills that the people actually have asked for, instead of focusing on what special interest groups want? For example, calling a special session to pass tax credits for billion-dollar sports team. How about we actually just give some tax relief to our voters, to the people? They don't have to be voters, citizens of the state of Missouri. Why are we not doing that first? You know, I mean, we saw last year, one of the first big bills to come out of the House was the Bear Protection Act, which is to protect bear, to give them just a blanket immunity for poisoning and killing people and giving them cancer. You know, that was a priority. The priority needs to be the things that people say they're going to run on when they're running for election, but however, they forget those as soon as they get to the Capitol. You know, and I have a history of doing the right thing. You know, I've always been principled, and I stand and vote for what I actually believe is the right thing to do.
Well, you've also have done the right thing when it comes to our military veterans, not just serving alongside of them. Our next segment, once we hop off here, is going to be dedicated Vic for Vets. It's a segment they do here on the Vic Porcelli Show. And one of the things I love about you is you're actually putting your hard-earned treasure back into the community. Tell us a little bit about, you know, how you have helped out the veterans and some of these. What's the one charity that you were so tied up with, providing veterans and first responders animals?
Yeah. So I'm involved with a few charities. So one of them is the Hero Network. I'm on the board of that provides services to first responders and veterans and military people. Then there's an organization that's near and dear to my heart. I'm not on the board, but I'd say I'm a major donor to them. It's called Dogs for Our Brave. It's the best organization out there. You know, I could get emotional talking about what they do. They provide service dogs for the life of a service member who's injured. And we're not talking about somebody that's, you know, got emotional problems. We're talking about people that have no arms or legs. And they provide that service member a dog for their entire life. If the dog dies, they get them a new dog. Dog needs a surgery, they provide for that. So it's not costing that service member any money. I actually have a friend who's the next recipient of a dog, Josh Ashcroft. He's getting the next dog. I served with him, and he got blown up in Iraq.
Well, Jim, if you're a human being with any feeling at all, you know that your pet is one of the dearest things to you. So you know how important it could be to someone who really needs that. What's that organization's name again?
It's called Dogs for Our Brave. They're a St. Louis-based business or charity, and the best charity because they literally provide food, leashes, toys, every single thing. There's zero. It's going to cost that service member $0 to take care of that dog. And he will have a dog, he or she, that veteran, will have a dog for their entire life. It's a great organization.
Wow. We're talking to Jim Avery, who's running in the 22nd district in Jefferson County. And Jim, I hope that I, didn't bring all these war stories back to you about the Senate and the lack of leadership and how crazy things were, because I know you're a hard charger. And, when we need help on the front lines, you were there. When we needed help for taking care of our injured individuals in the state of Missouri, you were there. And I know that being a pilot, being an attorney, being a small business owner, there are other businesses that you own. Is there anything that you have actually put your effort behind that you were not successful in?
I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, people always ask me, how am I going to do this Senate thing? And I always tell people, hey, if you want something done, you give it to somebody that's busy.
Amen.
You can hear Jim's competitiveness when he answers. He's like, well, I don't know. I didn't really lose anything.
Yeah. That's what I love about him. He's the fighter that we need.
listen, I tell everybody this. If you want to do something in life, you just have to do it.
Amen,
you
brother.
can sit around and come up with a million excuses on why you can't do it, or you can go try. And listen, if you don't succeed the first time, try again. If you don't see again, try. Hey, I lost my very first election ever. I ran against a Democrat named May Sheevy. I got 47% of the vote in a 40% Republican district, so I outperformed. I didn't give up. I didn't quit. I ran again the next year, and I won. Now, my district shifted, so that was to my advantage, but I think I would have won regardless, even if I was still in that same district.
I love it.
So, don't come up with excuses. Come up with the reason why you need to do something and go do it. You can be anything you want to be. You can do anything you want to do. I don't believe, look, I lived in my car. I could come up with 100 reasons why life is unfair. I didn't do that.
Well, Jim, we're on about 8 platforms, and I hope you don't mind, but I put that picture of you holding that explosive device up on our stream. So,
well, he is explosive. He is the conservative voice, the conservative fighter that we need in Jefferson County and in Jefferson City. Jim, can you give us, in the last couple seconds that we have, just the breakdown of what is encompassed within Senate District 22? What areas are you going to be representing?
Yep. So it goes from the Jefferson County part of Eureka all the way down to Festus, Crystal City, and everything in between, House Springs, Cedar Hill, Hillsborough, Arnold, Imperial, all that. I call it Northern Jefferson County.
It's a big area.
Well, I call it God's country, and that's exactly why it is so important that we have a fighter representing the good people in Jefferson County. Jim, where can people go to find out more about your candidacy, more about this race, and more about your law firm?
Well, they can go to look at my law firm at averyinjurylaw.com. If they want to learn more about my candidacy, which is, I hope, what they're really here for, jimavery.com. If you want to volunteer or anything like that, I'm looking for other people that want to change the way Jeff City operates. I'm really serious about changing the culture there.
Well, I've got some family members in Jefferson County, so I'm going to give them a heads up, Jim. Thanks.
I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me.
That is Jim Avery. He's going to be back on with us on Stand and Fight on the Vic Porcelli Show. Jim, thanks for taking some time. Have a good weekend. Well, we are going to be back with another segment just for veterans, celebrating veterans like my grandpas, like so many heroes in America. So don't go anywhere. Stick with 1019 94.1 News Talk STL. This is the Vic Porcelli Show, and we're just getting started.
We give you news, analysis, opinion, and more. Only on News Talk STL.
Whoosh.
Looking for unbelievable deals? Stop by Overstock Outlet in Lake St. Louis or Warrenton. Open 7 days a week. Discover big savings on a huge variety of merchandise with no hassle. Just great prices. Visit us in Lake St. Louis on Highway N or in Warrenton on Boones Lake. Check out our Facebook page at Overstock Outlet Lake St. Louis or go online to overstockoutletstl.com. Unbeatable value, friendly service, and you never know what we'll have at Overstock Outlet.
What if there was a one-stop shop for all your healthcare needs and no insurance was needed? At Bell Healthcare, we make wellness simple. Optimize the patient's life. Struggling with weight loss? We offer proven programs, including GLP-1 treatments like semaglutide. Need hormone therapy? We've got personalized plans for both men and women. Nagging pain or injuries? Chiropractic and regenerative medicine are available. Ready to take control of your health? Visit bellhealthcare.net today and get optimized.
Hey there, Chris Cooper here, Serenity Wealth Management. Join us right here on News Talk STL Sunday morning, 9 a.m. for Serenity Wealth Now Radio. This Sunday, Joe with Groundwork Mortgage is going to join us. We're going to talk about interest rates. It's hard to buy a house without a conversation about a mortgage. Are we going to get back to those 3% interest rates anytime soon? Tune in this Sunday, News Talk STL. You can also check us out on SerenityWealthNow.com, where we have all the episodes from our series right there for Serenity Wealth Now Radio.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
McGuire Moving is Silver certified, which means they are great at relocating senior citizens. In fact, McGuire is a household name because McGuire understands the stress involved when moving older adults. So if you or family members need help moving, I highly recommend McGuire Moving. 314-241-0600. 241-0600. Get a free in-home estimate. McGuireMoving.com.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at NewstalkSTL.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Jason Walker. Trump administration winning a major legal victory today at the Supreme Court.
Justices ruled that individual judges lack the authority to grant nationwide injunctions, effectively blocking presidential executive orders. It's a big win for Donald Trump, whose agenda has faced multiple roadblocks from district judges. But the 6-3 Supreme Court ruling did not address the constitutionality of the president's restrictions on birthright citizenship. He wants to deny citizenship to U.S.-born children of people who are in the country illegally. Greg Clugston, the White House.
Busy day on the High Court, also upholding a Texas law aimed at blocking youngsters from seeing pornography online. Supreme Court has ruled that Maryland parents who have a religious objection may pull their children from public school lessons that use the LGBT storybooks. And the High Court upholding the fee added to phone bills to provide billions of dollars a year in subsidized phone and internet services in schools. Also at townhall.com, Senate Majority Leader John Thune says he's still hoping for a weekend vote on the big, beautiful bill, but he says, of course, sometimes the wheels turn slowly on Capitol Hill.
A lot of the voting will happen on Saturday, but at least and we'll see. I mean, we're waiting for all the bird bath rulings, which are taking a lot longer because the Democrats are contesting and challenging pretty much everything.
Senator Thune was interviewed today on the Salem Radio Network. Well, Washington and Beijing now signing a key trade agreement. Officials say it will make it much easier for American firms to obtain magnets and rare earth minerals from China that are critical to manufacturing and microchip production. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Just hearing the word IRS can make people break out in a cold sweat. No one wants to deal with the IRS, and now you don't have to. The good news is Legal Tax Defense has been successfully negotiating with the IRS for more than 15 years. It doesn't matter how much you owe, whether it's $5,000 or $5 million. You deserve the best in the business on your side, and that is Legal Tax Defense. Even if you're working with someone else and just want a second opinion, there is no cost or obligation to call. They can prevent levies, liens, wage garnishments, even file back tax returns. And the best news about Legal Tax Defense is they won't take your case unless they know they will reduce or eliminate your tax debt. Call Legal Tax Defense right now for a free, no-risk consultation. 800-292-7875. 800-292-7875. You have nothing to lose, but everything to gain. 800-292-7875.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Discover little-known strategies that could be the difference between choosing the care you deserve or having someone else decide it for you. Get a free copy of Chris's book at serenityltc.com.
Never paint again. This is Darren, owner of Rhino Shield. Want to eliminate painting your home, business, or church? Call the experts at Rhino Shield. Rhino Shield is a revolutionary ceramic wall coating to regular paint and vinyl. Perfect for aluminum, steel, unpainted brick, block, stucco, ephes, drive-it, cement board, and wood sidings. Rhino Shield eliminates wasting time and money painting year after year. Our ceramic coating deflects 90% of the sun's UV rays and 100% of the moisture. Our clients want affordable protection with the elimination of maintenance. Rhino Shield protects your biggest investment while maintaining your architectural features and gives you the curb appeal you deserve. Make your home great again by working with the Rhino Shield experts. A+ rated with the BBB. Call 877-25-RHINO, 877-25-RHINO, or 877-25rhino.com. See what we did there? Genius. Tell them, ladies.
Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Columbo here for my friends at Bluff City Outdoors in Alton. The knowledgeable staff at Bluff City has served the St. Louis outdoor community for decades, and they can take care of all your bow hunting needs, all your trapping needs, all your fishing needs, and more. Plus, while you're there, you can schedule a trip with a local fishing guide and shoot in their archery range. Bluff City Outdoors is open 7 days a week, 1 mile east of Fast Eddie's at 2813 East Broadway in Alton. Follow them on Facebook and at bluffcityoutdoors.com.
This hour, the Vic Porcelli Show, brought to you by the Trolley Stop Bakery, the official bakery of the Vic Porcelli Show. You're listening to the Vic Porcelli Show.
For a 3-hour tour, a 3-hour tour. The weather started getting rough.
We squeeze in a dry hump day under partly sunny skies.
From New Jersey to Baldwin, Missouri, to behind the microphone, taking the whoosh to the radical left and the putrid swamp. You're listening to the Vic Porcelli Show. Here he is, Vic Porcelli.
So cutesy time is over. That's a little dedication to Dan Bongino.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Have you guys done that for a while? It's the first time.
Yeah,
I've heard
we've
that.
been doing it for since Dan left.
Okay. Well, Dan's on to bigger, better things. Jay Ashcroft is on to bigger, better things. Vic Porcelli is on to bigger and better things, at least until Monday when he comes back to really awesome things here at News Talk STL. And we're going to have some really cool things happening. The rest of the show, we've got Dr. Mollie James, who has some clinics here in the state of Missouri. She is kicking ass, taking names, and saving people's lives. We also have State Rep Richard West to kick off the news show that's going to be airing this Sunday at 1, St. Charles Patriot Radio, then followed up with, and it might be Sundays with Nick. It might be Snick. I don't know. Remember, if you remember Nickelodeon?
Yeah.
There was the Snick nights. Yeah. And I guess Sunday night is dedicated to Nick Schroer, yours truly, as Stand and Fight will end us at 6 to 8 p.m. But it is now time to honor those badass Americans.
All right, Nick, this is the Vic for Vets honored veteran during Veterans Month in America that we have. And I want to remind everybody that if you have your favorite veteran and you want to get the word out about them, then give me the information, name, rank, branch of service, and a story, so Vic can talk about it on the air.
Where can they send that to?
They can send it to Ken at NewstalkSTL.com. That's Ken at NewstalkSTL.com. So here's a submission by listener Christopher Slater. Good morning, Vic and Ken. Thank you and Vic for honoring our military members. My veteran is Specialist Corporal David Bixler. Specialist Bixler was assigned to the 1st Battalion, 320th Field Artillery, 2nd Brigade Combat Team, and the 101st Airborne Division. Specialist Bixler, he was assigned to the 1st Battalion, and on September 30th, 2010, Specialist Bixler was on patrol in heavily mined farmland in the Arkhandab River Valley in Afghanistan. He was leading a team of 3 Afghan National Army soldiers when his unit was ambushed and heavy gunfire ensued. When Bixler saw that one of the Afghan soldiers had veered toward uncleared ground, he ran after him and pushed him to safety. While doing so, Bixler stepped on an improvised explosive device. He suffered a loss of both legs, damage to his spinal cord, traumatic brain injury, and other serious injuries. For his heroic action, Specialist Bixler was awarded the Silver Star, as well as a Purple Heart for his wounds. Bixler was the 2011 USO Soldier of the Year. Specialist Bixler was evacuated on or around October 1st, 2010, by an Illinois National Guard KC-135 tanker aircraft configured for an aeromedical evacuation flight from Bagram Air Base, Afghanistan, to Ramstein Air Base, Germany, close to Landstuhl Military Hospital, Germany, Bixler's destination. Bixler survived the catastrophic wounds and has since accepted a smart home from the Tunnels to Tower. This is amazing. Tunnels to Tower in 2016, and become successful in the computer industry, owning his own small business specialized in 3D printed components. He's an American warrior. Respectfully, Nick, it's From Technical Sergeant Christopher Slater, retired United States Air Force, Illinois Air National Guard. And I want to say also to Christopher Slater, thank you, sir, for your service.
Absolutely. Thank you for your service.
And this is today's Vic for Vets honored veteran during Veterans Month. And I want to stress that this is Veterans Month.
Yes.
This is the month of June. Every year we're going to celebrate this on News Talk STL. And we get this great support, Nick, from our fine friends at DG Firearms, Patriot Heating and Cooling, and Best Buy Flooring. And thank you so much for your contribution. And thank you if you're a veteran. Again, if you have your favorite veteran that you'd like to highlight, send the information to me, Ken at NewstalkSTL.com.
This is one of my favorite parts of the show.
I love it, man. I get a little worked up, and Vic does too. But too bad. It's these guys, what they've gone through. Yeah. They deserve at least this.
Well, not only them, but their families as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And again, before I segue into the Freedom 13, Gold Star family who's lost an American badass, Jared Schmitz. The flag's behind you.
Yep.
Before I segue into that, where can people go again to nominate? Because I've got a little inkling that it's not just going to be June. That if you're flooded with veterans that people want to honor in July, near Independence Day or August or whatever, I think that you and Vic will likely give them some airtime to talk about these special people. Where can people go to nominate or just tell you about their favorite veteran?
Well, Nick, it's funny you bring that up because we did talk about that. And every Monday from now on,
wow,
every single Monday, once a week, we're going to highlight a veteran. So bring that information to me. It's name, rank, branch of service, and any other information, medals you want to include, and your story. If you've got a special story, I know we all have them. Send it to me at Ken at NewstalkSTL.com. Ken at NewstalkSTL.com. And that flag behind me gets me broken every time I walk in here.
Well, I remember the call that I received from a friend. I had helped their son kind of transfer from a Christian school that got rid of their football team, and they needed to transfer to the public school that was right across the street in my district. And MSHA, the Missouri State High School Athletic Association, giving them a hard time. Well, we fought, we won, we got them transferred over. And I got a call from this friend a couple of years ago talking about, his friend that's in need. His son needs some help. And when we got into it, come to find out, he wanted me to call Mark Schmitz, a guy who I had never met, who just hours before got a knock on his door by the military saying that your son was one that was killed in Afghanistan at Abbey Gate. And since then, when he wanted me to call him, I sat there saying, look, I'm a lowly state representative. I don't know what I can do, but I'll call him. And at the time I was running for Senate, and I even told Mark this. I said, I don't want any of this to come back on me. I don't want this to look or appear or anything, but what do you want? What can I help you with? Let me help you there. And he said, I just want people to remember my son, what he fought for, the dream that he had. And we need to help his brothers that were left behind.
Yeah.
Well, since that time, we got the bridge named after him. And just this week, just yesterday, breaking news.
All right.
The governor signed Senate Bill 348, which includes the Freedom 13 special license plates. So
Really?
starting in the next several months, they're going to create this design. You can get a specialty license plate probably next year that the money goes to the Freedom 13 and everything Mark's doing, helping veterans around the world. You can actually have a small piece in that by spreading awareness with that specialty license plate, but also that money goes to what he's fighting for.
I'm getting one as soon as I possibly
Absolutely.
can. As soon as they're available, I'm getting one. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. He should never be forgotten. They should never be forgotten. And really, if you think about it, none of our lost veterans.
None of them should.
No.
None of them should. We shouldn't be. This is what I told after Bud Light had that big debacle with Dylan Mulvaney, the guy dressing in drag that got honored with a special can. I was talking to some of the lobbyists for Anheuser-Busch, and I said, look, most of your beer is good. Most of it. I've never been a fan of Bud Light. So it wasn't just the Dylan Mulvaney thing why I wasn't drinking Bud Light. I'm not a big fan. I like Michelob. I like the German types of beer. But I said, how about this? How about instead of honoring these people, these celebrities, these influencers, how about you put on every single can one of the veterans from the Freedom 13, that flag behind you that were lost at Abbey Gate, or just honoring veterans in general.
In general,
how about that? How about you pick a can and put a story? How about you hire somebody instead of DEI training at Anheuser-Busch or InBev? How about you have somebody digging into our military veterans and telling their stories on every single can that people are purchasing, and that money going to something like the Freedom 13, like Backstoppers, like Tunnels to Towers.
Tunnels to Towers, what an amazing thing.
Yeah.
I mean, getting a house for this person. I mean, that's beyond words.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that I think that they should have been able to do pretty easily, actually. But
Well,
did they follow through on that at all, or was there something? Did they do that for the veterans? Anheuser-Busch, I'm talking about.
I don't think so. I do know that they had some specialty cans. I think maybe Folds of Honor or something like that.
Okay.
But I don't think they took it to that extent that I recommended. But these stories, I come from a family where both of my grandpas, when I was graduating high school, I wanted, and I went and talked to the recruiters. And my grandparents, I was being recruited for football also, and had a chance to go to college. First one in my family to go to college, and both of my grandpas told me, one served in World War II, Army Air Corps, became the Air Force. The other was a Marine Corps sniper in Korea. Both of them had said, no, follow your education right now. You'll have a time if you want to serve. And, I'm serving in a different way, but I think it is my duty to help not only the veterans who were serving abroad, but those that have come back with disabilities, or even if you don't have a disability, you put your life on the line to protect our God-given rights, and also to serve or to help those that are serving as police, as first responders, as firefighters.
Absolutely.
That's where our focus needs to be. Not on benefiting the Kansas City Chiefs or the Kansas City Royals, who are giving us the middle finger by going to Kansas again, saying, hey, I know these things, these handouts that you were giving us to build 70% of our stadium, Kansas. I know they're expiring at the end of this month. Can you extend that so we can keep negotiating with you and get Missouri and Kansas in a bidding war? Well, we need strong leadership to say, no, it's take it or leave it. And I
would say, I hope they leave it.
Leave it. Because I voted against this garbage.
Yeah.
We should be prioritizing actual people, not billionaires who can afford a stadium if they wanted to build it on their own. And that's where I think we need to, going into this next week, going into Independence Day, and I call it Independence Day because I always want people to remember that, is the independence that we fought for. And when you go back even further than just that victory, when you go back to the oppression, the tyranny that we were against, that the colonists were against, heck, we were pissed off because of a 3% increase on tea.
Yeah.
And on goods. What about now?
Oh,
why don't we have that same passion now? Now, I'm not calling for a revolution. I'm not calling for war. I'm not calling for any of that stuff. But revisit history in the fact that we believed these minor tax increases were so oppressive that we needed to band together and create some plan to pull away from that. Are we independent anymore? With all the tax schemes on our work, our labor, our goods, our personal property, our real property. when we invest our money, that's already been taxed on. We're getting taxed on it again. We spend our money on food, on service, everything is being taxed.
That's such a long list, Nick. I started to hang with you, but I have to start doing what Vic does and write these things down as you're talking about them, because it's true. There's such a long list of things that anger me as a person who pays personal property tax here in Missouri. I mean, do I not really own what I have? Because if I own what I really have, let's be real here, I wouldn't be paying for it. Do you pay for, when you go home and you've got a bag of groceries, do you pay for it again when you walk in the door? Or if you have something that's going to stay for a couple of years, do you actually pay for that all the time? If you've got groceries that sit in a freezer for a year, do you pay for that again the following year? No.
Well, I think if the government knew that you were hoarding it
right,
and keeping it in your freezer, let's not give them any ideas.
No kidding. And that's the aggravation that I have. And when I heard that, Kehoe was going to allow this to happen, I don't accept it. Yeah. I think that's a mark against that man.
Well, I will say, with the darkness of what was a special session, I think there is some light because I've had this conversation with Governor Kehoe. I've had this conversation with his staff. We need to get serious about tax cuts. And some of the guests that we have on, some of the guests that I have on Stand and Fight, some of the guests that appear on this network, they may have a preference that we want personal property, or we want real property, or we want income tax. I just want our people to have tax relief. And I think there's a plan in the works, and I haven't heard it yet. I've got several ideas on bringing income tax to zero. And I'm hoping that gets done next year.
Okay, here's where I have a problem. You've got Governor Kehoe making the special arrangement to have a special session for these billionaires that are owning. And I have nothing against billionaires. Believe me, if I was a billionaire, I wouldn't have any problem with it. Okay. And I congratulate them for their being able to make that kind of money. What I'm talking about, though, is if he could create a special session to vote on this, he could create a special session for school choice.
Yep.
He could create a special session for personal property tax, getting rid of the personal property tax. I'm just saying that why did he have a special set? People don't like that.
Yeah.
You know, when he did it for them, he needs to do it for the
Well, that's what I
people of
said
Missouri,
on several
period.
shows. That's what I said in the Senate is, look, we need to bring the same passion that we have to try to protect these sports teams and give them tax breaks. Bring that same passion like our founders did to give regular people, the single mom that's working 10 jobs, the mom and dad that can't afford groceries, Disney Plus, and a vacation. Let's give all of these people a tax break. And let's look, if we have to do a special session because you can't get it done in the regular session. So one of the things I liked when Governor Greitens was in office, he goes, look, I don't care if you're going on vacation or not. We got a pro-life issue. It's not resolved. You're coming back. We're going to spend as much time as it takes to get that done. We've got other governors that in the United States are doing that same thing with school choice, with tax cuts. I am hopeful because we finally have a governor who's been working the halls, talking about certain issues. We got the crime bill done, something I've been working on for 5 years because of that passion with the governor. So let's bring that passion for tax cuts.
Yeah, this what you just said there opens up a whole new thing we can't get into right now. But the Greitens thing, the reason why he was such a lightning rod, because they knew what he was going to do for Missourians. And I'm not saying whether you're for or against the guy. I don't know his background enough to say he was a sweetheart angel. I'm not saying that, but what I am saying is the man was ready to fight for rights for Missourians.
Well, we've got a next guest who is ready to fight. Who is fighting. And it's not Jim Modulin. I know he wanted to get in here too.
No,
I
tried.
He tried to get in here.
I had to block him out.
But our next guest, don't go anywhere. It's an incredible story. It's made for TV, made for movies. Dr. Mollie James will be with us here on the Vic Porcelli Show, moments away on NewstalkSTL.
Stream the Vic Porcelli Show at NewstalkSTL. The Vic Porcelli Show.
I think you all know that I've always felt the 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
Made in St. Louis for St. Louis. It's NewstalkSTL.
Hi, it's Chris Arps, and I've been a customer of Royal Banks of Missouri for many years. They are a full-service, locally owned and operated community bank with 17 locations throughout the St. Louis area, including locations in Hannibal, Jerseyville, Granite City, as well as 2 locations in St. Charles. Royal Banks offers Missouri a full range of financial services covering all of your personal and business banking needs, as well as access to over 200 ATM locations. Royal Banks Missouri also offers convenient interactive teller machines that will connect you with a banker virtually and in real time, available at all their branch locations, and those are open weekdays from 8 to 7 p.m. and 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Saturdays. Plus, given today's headlines in the overall banking industry, it is reassuring to know Royal Banks Missouri has the highest financial ratings in St. Louis for stability and strength. That's Royal Banks Missouri, the community bank for your community. Visit them on the web at royalbanksofmo.com.
Yo, this is Vic. All during the month of June, Vic for Vets is proudly honoring our veterans. Every weekday at 11:05, you'll hear about that day's honoree and their incredible service to our country.
Hi, it's Ken. You want to nominate a veteran? Send their name, service information, and story to me, Ken, at NewstalkSTL.com.
Brought to you by Best Buy Flooring, Patriot Heating and Cooling, and DG Firearms.
Together, let's celebrate the heroes in our community, Vic for Vets. where honor meets gratitude.
Newstalk STL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Money Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on the St. Louis radio airways for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can now hear Doug and Safe Money Radio 2 times every weekend on Newstalk STL. But in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com. You could also reach Doug at 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP, member FINRA and SIPC.
What happens next?
For 40 years, Iran has been saying death to America, death to Israel. They have been killing our people.
Happens right here.
We've gone a long way to erasing this horrible threat.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Talk lines are open now at 314-912-1019. The Vic Porcelli Show.
Smitty Corbin Jaegerman Jensen.
True international under pressure. Smitty Corbin Jaegerman Jensen.
I mean, it doesn't involve our institution.
I just.
She knows so long as
On News Talk STL.
Man, they don't make them like Uncle Joe, do they?
No, they don't.
Sleepy corn pop. But I will tell you, with all of that craziness that's going on with Joe, somebody who called it, somebody who said there's something wrong with this guy, is our next guest, who is a fighter. She's a revolutionary. She is the driving force behind the James Clinic. And we're going to talk about this. Dr. Mollie James, thank you for taking some time out of your very, very, very busy schedule.
Hey guys, happy to be here today. And I guess we start with dementia.
Right.
Well, I don't have dementia. And I remember specifically sitting on a panel with you right around COVID, and I heard your story. And I remember going back home and telling my wife, somebody who you now know, this lady is a rock star. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about your story of being a whistleblower during some chaotic times? You had the backbone to stand up.
Yeah, I'm kind of what you call an accidental activist, I guess. I'm a traditionally trained general trauma surgeon and critical care doc. So I was working in the ICU during COVID, volunteered to go to New York early on in the pandemic, early 2020, when things were really bad out there. So I went between the St. Louis market and the New York City area for 18 months, seeing and treating patients in the ICU, about 2,000. As 21 rolled, the shots came down, the hospitals started pinching docs and staff that they had to get them. And I said, there's no way. People forget I was in the ICU. So I was seeing not only COVID patients, I was seeing vaccine injured COVID patients at the same time. So I had a front row seat to what was going on with those two things. I also saw they started blocking my orders and changing my orders for when I was the primary on a patient's case. And so I felt like I couldn't treat patients the way I wanted to. And one of the local hospitals, I had 2 great turnarounds in the ICU. A week later, they pulled ivermectin off the shelf and wouldn't let us prescribe it. So when those things happened, I just couldn't stay in the system anymore and started to speak up against the vaccine mandates and things.
Wow. And you just kind of took off ever since then. And I remember hearing your story and thinking, man, I'm praying for her. I hope things work out. And boy, have they. You've got your own podcast, the Dr. Mollie James Show.
Yep.
You've got a massive following right now because you are speaking the truth. Has there been any pushback from this? I call it this conventional corporate medicine that we see in the United States, big pharma funded. Has there been any pushback from that since you have been an accidental activist?
Yeah, a little bit. So a red state nearby actually had me under investigation by the medical board for 18 months with no accusation of wrongdoing, and that was cleared. But the process is the punishment. So for that 18 months, our team had to be on high alert, concerned who would be calling in and trying to sabotage things. So I think for the most part, since I carry the label integrative medicine, most people in the system just kind of laugh and dismiss it because they don't understand that we're taking care of the sick people they can't figure out. So I don't have a lot day to day, but certainly you hear of doctors who won't do that because of the fear. So we just carry on and do the right thing for patients.
Mollie, my doctor back, I remember it's like it was yesterday. My doctor, I went in there and I said to them, he said, well, you need to get the shot. And I said, okay, but let me talk to you about ivermectin. He said, I do not talk about ivermectin. And if you want to bring it up, then you can find another doctor. I mean, he was that abrupt with me.
Yep.
Did you experience, I mean, you've had to experience a lot of people coming to you with questions about ivermectin. And I do have a question. Do you think that it does eliminate some things that are going on in your body if you have taken the shot?
Uh-huh. So first of all, any doctor who does that is unethical because they should be able to articulate with you a risk-benefit discussion, whether they are in favor of the treatment or not, and have that conversation. It's not, that's the end of the discussion, get out of my office, I'm not going to be your doctor.
Right.
So anybody who's doing that should lose their license. I stand on that 100%. That is not medicine. Yes, I believe, so based on the data, we know that ivermectin interplays with the spike protein in a way that helps people get better. So on an acute COVID basis, it definitely helps acute upper respiratory infections, things like that. On the chronic basis, it helps about 5 to 10% of the time nicely, but we do have other things that can impact the downstream sequelae from having excess spike in the system.
And could you give us an example of maybe a couple of those things?
Yeah. So when I see somebody who I believe has a COVID related, whether it's long COVID and they didn't get a shot, or if it's vaccine injury because they had a shot, I'm going to start them on some ivermectin. There's another prescription called fenofibrate. That is an old school cholesterol drug. It is not a statin, and it binds the spike protein. So I use those two to try to reduce the impact of spike. I do not believe there's a detox from spike. There's a lot of doctors who are promoting that. I believe that has been disproven, and there's a lot of people spending money on those supplements.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So number one, we get rid of spike. Number two, we treat inflammation. So I'm going after that with some high dose boswellia, curcumin, and fish oils. That's where I start people. Then my step 3 for treating this is looking at specific organ dysfunction. And we go after the individual symptoms a patient is having and try to help address that.
We're talking to Dr. Mollie James, the founder of the James Clinic and host of her own podcast, the Dr. Mollie James Show. You can pull a lot from even your website. The James Clinic is some of your old podcasts that are very relevant today. And before I get into us conspiracy theorists being right time and time again, and the new wave of, I want to say, medicinal common sense, can you explain how the James Clinic goes above and beyond what you get with just the conventional healthcare corporate system?
Sure. We don't answer to employers or insurers, so we have the freedom just to do what's right for the patient. We also have the freedom to do labs. We know how to interpret very complex labs and to treat based on best practice, not just what society tells us to do. So we've been doing this a long time. We have a better way of doing things for like thyroid. We look for inactive infections. And we don't have to be accountable to a system. If you work in a large insurance-based health system right now, when they print the labs, they actually give you the checkbox of what prescriptions you should be prescribing. So these people are not thinking clinically or critically and making decisions. They're just following checkboxes and punching a clock. Mm-hmm. So we're going to go outside of that. We're going to look at physiology. We're going to look at how to reboot the mitochondria, how to detox the body, how to provide appropriate nutrients so the body can heal itself, because that's what it was designed to do.
Well, listening to your podcast, you've talked a lot about vaccine injuries. You've treated a lot of people with vaccine injuries. And now we're seeing with the RFK, the MAHA movement, we're starting to get certain things out of foods. We're starting to get certain things out of vaccines. Can you tell us a little bit about this movement and where we're going? And I guess the news talking about getting these mercury-based chemicals out of vaccines.
Yeah. So, for me, MAHA is a mixed bag right now because the most lethal thing on the market is the COVID mRNA shots. Right. And there is no child alive that should have ever or needs to now get them. The risk-benefit payoff does not justify that, nor does it justify it in any adult. So those should be pulled off the market, and their failure to do that is egregious. We do want to celebrate the wins that we have with things like the red dyes and the thiomersal. So that was a new thing out of ACIP this week, that we are going to remove the mercury-based additive in the shots. So we'll take our wins, but we're going to continue to push for the things that are most lethal on the market, that are most obvious, and they should be addressing first.
Well, you are like the Wonder Woman when it comes to healthcare in America, but it doesn't stop there because even with all of the stuff that you're doing in so many different states, and we're going to get into the new James Clinic here in Missouri. Can you tell us about the Starlight Initiative?
Yeah, so we went to North Carolina. I was watching, you can't get the news on the news anymore. So I was watching Twitter in North Carolina after the Hurricane Helene happened. And I was watching video after video of people who were not getting the help they needed. So the clinic packed up when we went down there, and we were there on and off for about 4 months. So out of that, we grew a 501c3 nonprofit, the Starlight Initiative, and we continue to offer medical assistance in disaster situations. We're supporting some organizations that are doing some counter human trafficking. So there are a lot of things that we're doing with that. We do have our inaugural event coming up this fall. September 13th is a Saturday. So if you can mark your calendars, make sure you're following Starlight Initiative. We are a baby organization, but our team came through even with the St. Louis tornadoes and have been helping provide some relief with YAPAC, which is a nonprofit out of the Clarksville, Tennessee area.
Well, as if you're not busy enough with all of that you have going on. The James Clinic is expanding. A new office is just a couple minutes away from the studio here in Chesterfield. Tell us about the James Clinic in Chesterfield and Missouri and the other locations you have.
Yep. So we just upsized dramatically. So we're now in the west end of Chesterfield Valley on Chesterfield Airport Road and Steppe Drive. So we have a huge space now. We are adding clinicians. One of them you know very well. Your wife, Kate, is going to be on the team very soon. So we are expanding here. We also have a footprint in my hometown of Sheraton, Iowa, and we're in Detroit, Michigan as well in the northern suburbs. We have plans to hopefully expand very soon into the Texas market also.
Well, Mollie, then you're so close, you need to come visit News Talk STL sometime and come in the studio and talk with us.
I for sure definitely will do that.
That'd be awesome.
Sounds good. Yeah.
So, Mollie, where can people go? I know the new clinic is at 640 Steppe Drive in Chesterfield, Missouri, but where can people go to just follow you and all of the cool stuff that you're involved in?
Yeah, so 2 places. Instagram is probably one of the more personal. So at Dr. Mollie James or at James_clinic on Instagram. Twitter is where I get snarky and go after other docs that are making bad choices.
Oh, there you
that's
go.
At Mollie James. Yeah, I like to keep people accountable for saying silly things. So Twitter, Instagram are the 2. Our website is jamesclinic.com, and then starlightinitiative.org are kind of all the great places you can find us.
What's your Twitter handle again?
At Mols James, MOLS James.
Okay.
Well, Dr. Mollie James, it has been a pleasure getting to know you for the many years. I'm so proud of you, and I can't wait to see what the future holds.
Well, thanks. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. That was Dr. Mollie James of the James Clinic. You can follow her on X at Mols James, MOLS James, or at James_clinic. And yes, she goes after the sheep.
Yeah, she sounds like it.
She is a rock star. And our next guest is going to be the final one, and he's going to be a rock star. Richard West, state representative out in the good old town of New Melly, will be on with us for the last segment on the Vic Porcelli Show.
With the heartbreak open, so much you can't hide.
Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. The Vic Porcelli Show.
I wouldn't sell my bike for all the money in the world.
If they have to pay out $159,000 billion.
Not for $100 billion, million, trillion dollars.
Over $1 billion, $300 million.
You're crazy. I know you are, but what am I?
Made in St. Louis for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The big, beautiful bill will result in a lot of tax implications. We'll speak with Grover Norquist of Americans for Tax Reform on what it all means for you.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL.
Back pain? Follow me to Esquire Sports Medicine, where they've got your back. Esquire is the oldest sports medicine clinic in St. Louis. Dr. Draghi and his team of chiropractors can get you back to work, back to life without the pain. New patients usually scheduled within 24 hours. 314-644-0885. 644-0885. EsquireSportsMedicine.com.
This is Tony Colombo, and my favorite Capriati sandwich is the cheesesteak made with American Wagyu beef from Snake River Farms, and you have to include a side of their amazing fries. I love Capriati's, and you will too.
Open 9 to 9 daily on Manchester at McKnight in Rock Hill.
The Herzog Foundation is the vision of its founder, Stanley Herzog, and it exists to promote quality Christ-centered K-12 education nationwide.
Hi, this is Chris Stegall with the Herzog Foundation. We offer a wide variety of resources relevant to today's families, including a free online publication called The Lion. The lion is one of God's most majestic creatures, symbolizing strength and courage. Named for its attributes, the Lion publication carries articles covering a wide range of topics facing American families and culture, especially related to the education of children. The Lion can be found online at readlion.com. That's READ lion.com.
Sign up for The Lion at readlion.com and find dozens of must-read articles published every day. Visit readlion.com and subscribe for the weekly and daily digests so you never miss an article. Readlion.com. That's readlion.com.
Talk lines are open now at 314-912-1019. The Vic Porcelli Show.
In my life, I had a guardian angel by my side. I called her Mamaw. She loved the Lord, ladies and gentlemen. She was a woman of very deep Christian faith. But she also loved the F word.
Made in St. Louis for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL.
And welcome back to the Vic Porcelli Show. I am Nick Schroer, senator, business owner. I stir the pot quite a bit.
Yeah, pot stirrer.
Pot stirrer.
You are.
Flamethrower.
A little bit.
And we've got, we're trying to get Representative Richard West on the
he's
line.
on.
Oh, he is on.
Yeah,
Perfect. Well,
Richard.
he is a business owner. He is a pot stirrer. And he is my compadre on this new show coming out this Sunday, St. Charles Patriot Radio. Richard, thanks for taking some time. I know you've got business to do since you're out of session now.
Yeah, good morning, Nick. How you doing?
I am really good. I've been waiting for this segment all day. It's the last one. We saved, I want to say one of the best because we've had a lot of cool guests on. We've had veterans, but I want to just dive into the special session before we get into this new show. The whole thing with the Kansas City Chiefs, Kansas City Royals, now asking for even more. Now, I think they're trying to get into a bidding war between Kansas and Missouri. What is your take as a taxpayer, as a small business owner who didn't get the same treatment that these billionaires got?
Well, Nick, being a state representative, I was able to say this on the floor, but, if we look out to all of the Missourians and we look at all the small businesses that make between $1 and $5 million a year, and we look at that group, I'm quite sure that it's larger than all the stadiums put together. We employ more than all the stadiums put together. We pay more taxes than all the stadiums put together. However, we don't get to enjoy the fact that the state is offering to the stadiums, basically, the ability to, you pay $50 million a year in taxes. Guess what? You can go ahead and pay your rent with that, and we'll just tax you on the additional taxes you make over that, and you can take and invest that money back into your business.
Well, at Overstock Outlet,
do not get that opportunity.
Right. Well, at Overstock Outlet, you can't go to the legislature and say, you know what, we need a new building. We need to expand. Our stuff hasn't been, rebuilt for the last 10 years. So we're going to go to Kansas. We're going to go to Tennessee unless you do something. I'm pretty sure the legislature would tell you to go pound sand. So why are we bending over? Why are we bending a knee to these billionaires that have the money to do it themselves?
Well, that's a good question. And then we go through all the turmoil of charging the people in the state of Missouri for an extraordinary session. And then the Kansas City goes to, or the Chiefs go to Kansas City and say, hey, can we extend the time? Because, we want to think things over just a little bit more.
Man,
that's horrible.
Outrageous.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just say, Richard, that heck with all that. I'm talking about a radio station, a radio show. We need t-shirts. We're trying to get Vic Head t-shirts on this show, and we're trying to come up with the money so maybe that they could fund us, and then we'll pay them back later. I mean, it's no big deal.
Well, I'll tell you what, why don't you just hire yourself a lobbyist for a couple $1 million a year?
Okay.
Have him go to Jeff City and lobby for free T-shirts. I mean, why not? Everybody else does.
Right.
We're talking to State Representative Richard West out of the 102nd. And it's hard to keep track of all of the changing numbers because you used to be, I think, in the 60s. Now you're 102nd, same area, New Melly, Defiance, Augusta, God's Country in St. Charles County. And it's kind of the impetus behind, like you just alluded to. Not everybody can hire a lobbyist. Not everybody can go spend exorbitant amounts of money because they've got businesses to run. And that's kind of why we created the St. Charles Patriot Radio. We're going to air this this weekend. How excited are you to start this new venture to give the people back a voice?
Well, Nick, I think the impetus behind this is to bring in business owners, stakeholders in St. Charles County and let them tell what they do and why it is important for good legislation to happen and why, we talked about controlled growth this week, which is very important to St. Charles County. And I'm really excited about this radio show. I think it's going to be great.
And moving it into this new era where politicians are going directly to the people like Donald Trump has, Eric Burleson and Onder and all of our delegation now have little podcasts. So why not bring the people on to tell us directly how they feel? Have you heard any pushback or any positive words from people in the community?
Absolutely no pushback. But I have, my since I posted this on my Facebook, it's been popping up. People are really excited to tune in and listen and learn about the politics of St. Charles County and how we can better serve the citizens of St. Charles County.
Well, this show is going to air every Sunday, 1 p.m. here on News Talk. It's going to be everywhere podcasts are available. And I know you and I are planning some pretty big shows about bringing on the candidates for county executive, hopefully in the future doing some forums as well. But you're heading into one of your last sessions. I know you got something huge across the finish line in the House side. It didn't get brought up in the Senate about tax cuts. Is that where your focus is going to be this last year?
Yeah, so I've got this last year of this session, and then I'll have 2 years of my final session, and I'm going to concentrate on tax cuts. My big one this year was personal property tax, but it's much more than that. Missourians are, first of all, the state of Missouri is out of control with its spending. Our budget has more than doubled since I've been there. That's crazy.
Yeah.
A lot of that was COVID money. I understand that, but now we're on the hook to continue paying that, and we get no more COVID money, which we shouldn't have taken anyway, but that's another story. But yeah, so tax reformation is high on my list. And of course, Speaker of the House just made this interim committee on tax reformation, and guess who's not on it?
The guy who's been passing all the tax cuts in the Missouri House.
Right. But they're afraid I'm going to get a real bite at it and, maybe getting something done.
Here's one of the amazing things about News Talk STL. We do cover international, national affairs, and we have news analysis and opinion. And that includes state and local politics as well. And I think that's something so unique about this radio station. And I'm really glad to see that you guys are on this station.
Well, Richard.
Go ahead, Nick.
No, I was going to say, I love having the fact that we've got a representative who's a former cop, who is a business leader. You're a former mayor. We've had all these people on, like Jim Avery and Dr. Mollie James and so many others today that are doing so many things in the community. And that's just another voice that we're going to have Sunday nights at 1 p.m. or Sunday afternoon, whatever it is.
Sunday afternoon. Yeah, looking forward to the first show being aired. And, if you're a business owner out there or you have something you want to speak about in St. Charles County, give us a call because we want to talk to you.
Yeah, when you guys were talking about the forum idea, I think that made my ears perk up a little bit. I think people would like to hear, an actual forum. Where there was more than 2 or 3 people.
Well, it's kind of piggybacking off of what Jeffco Patriot Radio has done. They had a mayor debate, and the SR1 crew, the News Talk crew, went down there. They filmed the whole thing. They streamed it, and it went gangbusters because nobody's really doing that at the local level.
Right.
Well, now we're piggybacking off what Jeffco Patriot Radio did, doing it in St. Charles Patriot Radio every Sunday, 1 p.m. And Richard,
I saw somebody that said they wanted on the stream in Lincoln County Patriot Radio.
Oh, I'm telling you what, there are Franklin County wants one, Lincoln County wants one, St. Louis County, St. Louis City wants one. But Richard, in the last couple of minutes that we have, I want to kind of focus on your business because you actually have a stake in the game. You're, a regular citizen, but you also are a taxpayer. You are putting people to work. You're paying for their livelihoods. Tell us a little bit about your businesses and where you can direct people to actually go and support a conservative business here in their backyard.
So, yeah, we started this small business about 12 years ago, believe it or not, in our basement, and it's sprouted up. We have 2 stores, one in Lake St. Louis and one in Warrenton at the old Kroger store. The name of it is Overstock Outlet, and we just get lots of really good stuff. I've got 20 full-time employees. I don't ask the government for anything special. Just let me operate my business and stay out of my hair. And that's the way we've been operating for 12 years. And we've seen a lot of great success through COVID. When COVID, they were shutting everybody down. We stayed open. I was pulling in people from Cape Girardeau, Lake of the Ozarks. People were coming to our store because they're like, we hear this is the most normal place to be. And
normal,
3 hours just walking 2 or 3 hours just walking around the store without having to have a mask on.
Yeah, I mean, it's so cool too because you have auctions that you do, and it could be anything from kids blow up toys, regular toys, hunting stuff, food, clothing, TVs, computer. Like, you envision it, you want it. It's probably going to be at Overstock Outlet.
I tell folks this. Just remember the old grandpa pigeons, and we're like a scaled down model of that.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Maybe I'll have to start calling you Grandpa West from now on, and get slapped in the back of the head.
Pushing it.
Yeah, really. Grandpa Overstock.
Yes, I like that.
Grandpa Overstock.
Well, Grandpa Richard West, where can people go to find more about what you're doing, stay up to date on your legislation, the involvement with the Freedom Caucus? We didn't even mention that. You're a member of the Freedom Caucus as well. Where can people follow you?
So they can follow me on Facebook at Go West for Missouri, or you can reach out to me at my house account, which is richard.west@house.mo.gov, District 102 in the great county of St. Charles County. And those are the easiest ways to get a hold of me. I'm also going to put out my phone number because I know it's not recommended, but I do it anyway, 636-578-9574. And you can text me or call me, and I will answer your text or call.
And you can send all the ideas on what you want to talk about with St. Charles Patriot Radio. You can hear Richard and I every Sunday, 1 p.m. Representative Richard West, thanks so much for taking time out this weekend, and enjoy and have a happy Independence Day.
Thanks, guys. Have a great one.
You as
Take
well.
care, Richard.
Well, Ken, it's been fun. I can't believe it's been 3 hours. I am not going to say I even did half the job as Vic Porcelli because, with as busy as I am, I always hit the app if I'm out of town, if I'm in DC and I've got some downtime, I'm listening, and you guys keep me entertained. That's why you're award winning here on News Talk STL.
Well, Nick, one of the things when Vic needs a break, it's always awesome that we can grab people like you with all the experience that you have. And we used to say, you and I used to talk about how, well, we're inexperienced, with radio, but we'll try because we got some experiences outside of radio. Well, not anymore. I mean, you're getting experienced in and outside of radio. So it's really good to have someone here who does have your experience. And Vic really enjoys talking with you, and we talk with you every week, and I do too. And just having you here is really cool.
Well, I like how first start 4 years ago, I think. We're going on 4 years that News Talk has been.
Well, actually, as of July 19th, it will be 4 years to the day.
Years.
Yeah. But I'm talking about with you and I going way back.
Oh yeah, going way back.
Yeah.
Way
so
back.
now we're getting a little more experienced, and I just think that I just enjoy being on with you. I think it's a lot of fun.
Anytime I can work with my good friend Ken Williams or Vic Porcelli or anybody here, this is a bunch of legends that are here. Larry Connors, Vic Porcelli, Jamie Allman. You got new legends coming with Tim Jones, Mike Ferguson, like the whole crew. You guys just have it going on here at News Talk STL.
Well, on Fridays, we do have Mr. Connor's Neighborhood, and he gets mad at me when I don't call him Larry, which is really difficult for me because he is such an icon. And
Comrade, what did he say? Commander.
Commander. Oh, yeah. Today was, today. That was today. But I was sitting there one time, this was on a Friday, and Vic's talking, and, Larry's over there talking, and I'm like, you know what? I've never gotten a picture like this. So I had to turn around and do a selfie with Vic and Larry Connors. I'm working
Yeah.
with these two people, I mean, that's pretty amazing.
Well, and it's crazy to think because you saw Jamie Allman on the news.
Yeah.
You saw Larry Connors on the news. You heard Vic Porcelli doing radio, doing music. Never did I think that these guys would be the staunch conservatives that they are and the voice of common sense that they are.
Well, then extended further, you've got Chris Arps,
yeah,
a strategist, and you've got Tim Jones, the former Speaker of the House of Missouri. Timmy. I mean, this is pretty amazing on the station. It just keeps going on and on. And that's what, and not only that, Nick, but on the weekend, we talk about it all the time. We've got these shows that are on fire on the weekend. And you name it, it's across the whole spectrum. It goes local, it goes national, it goes international. And these people we have icons even on the weekend.
Yeah, it's incredible here. Don't go anywhere because right after us, we've got the icon himself, Jamie Allman. You never know what you're going to get, but you're not going to get loins because he does not want you to gird your loins. He doesn't even want you to say that because it sounds disgusting. And we had a good talk of where your loins actually are. You know where your loins are.
I think I do.
Where do you think they are?
The behind the buttocks area.
So you think it's the buttocks? I hear the crotch. I hear the buttocks, but it's actually in between your ribs and your hips.
Oh,
your loins are right.
Okay.
There. So gird them, or just don't if you don't want to sound disgusting. But
Jamie Allman's show is an award-winning show now. So
yes, he is. I think every show here is award-winning.
We're getting there. I'm saying official awards. So
I don't want any awards. I just want people to stand and fight like every American should. We're going to celebrate standing and fighting next Friday and Independence Day. Come to the O'Fallon Parade, the Heritage and Freedom Fest. It's going to be huge. It's probably going to be hot, but we're going to be in the Rick Pogue mobile.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's got a new wrap on it. I know Rick Pogue showed me some pictures. It's got a new wrap, American flag, 45, 47 tribute to Donald Trump.
I love that. Oh
so,
my God.
yeah, we're going to be waving the Gadsden flag at the O'Fallon Freedom Fest. So come on out. And if you're a Vic head, let us know. If you're a freedom fighter, let us know. But don't go anywhere. And a ton of great shows here on News Talk STL.
And I also want to mention again, because we talked about it earlier, the Hero Network and Dogs for Our Brave.
Yeah.
That was a really big one. That if you
So
get
she
a chance,
said.
How was that?
That's what she said.
No, Nick. If you get online, look for Dogs for Our Brave. And that's goes to help veterans with
Jim
their
Avery
pets.
has given so much time and money and treasure back to our veterans, whether it's groups like that, whether it's the National Guard. He's devoted so much time and attention, and that's why his heart is in the right place. I fully support this guy running, and I know he's going to be on this week in one of the shows right before St. Charles Patriot Radio. He's going to be on this week in Jim Avery with Tim Jones and the whole crew at Jeffco Patriot Radio. Billy Crow is out there in Jeffco. They're bringing Jim Avery on to talk about his candidacy for Senate District 22.
Oh, that's awesome. And so, Nick, did you have fun?
I had a lot of fun. I just saw the living legend, Jamie Allman, walking in. We've had Larry Connors. I'm filling in for another legend. It's been a great damn time. And like to your point earlier, I went from not knowing what I'm doing to still not knowing what I'm doing, but having a lot of fun doing it.
Right. So you'll say you would fill in again then.
We'll do it. Anytime you guys need, I'll stand and I'll fight here on the Vic Porcelli Show. Happy Independence Day next Friday. Vic will be back Monday. You'll hear me this Sunday at 1, St. Charles Patriot Radio, 6 o'clock for Stand and Fight. And stay tuned for my good friend, brother from another mother, Jamie Allman. God bless y'all.
Hey, thanks, Nick Schroer.
Whoosh.
Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros, your all-in-one gutter service team that brings years of experience and quality that's affordable right to your doorstep. We discovered Gutter Pros a few years ago when we bought our home and inherited a gutter issue that was on the road to becoming a potentially big problem, but thanks to Gutter Pros was stopped before causing any major damage. They've also repaired the siding on our home because along with gutter repair, gutter installation, and leaf protection, the Gutter Pros are also the best for siding repair and installation. Learn about all the ways Gutter Pros can help your home at gutterpros.com.
If you're considering an annuity as part of your retirement plan, we need to talk. Hi, I'm Bob Stockdale, Senior Vice President Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL 1019. Annuities can be a useful tool for some retirement investors, but not all annuities are created equal. Every week, we meet clients who own complex annuities that don't suit their needs and, in some cases, actively undermine their retirement plan. Before you purchase an annuity, get a second opinion from the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Requesting a consultation is free of charge. To request a free consultation, contact us at clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member NYSE and SIPC.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Belfast, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at NewstalkSTL.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Jason Walker. On Capitol Hill, high drama as Congress heads into the weekend. President Trump's big, beautiful bill facing challenges from House conservatives as well as the Senate's parliamentarian. On the Salem News program this week on Capitol Hill with Tony Perkins, House Speaker Mike Johnson of Louisiana hopes Senate Republicans pass their version of the legislation with minimal changes before sending it back to the House.
Well, the jury's still out on what those modifications are going to be. I will have to wait about 72 hours for the bill to lay over before we can vote. But the plan would be, if it's in shape that we can use it, then we'll pass it, approve it on probably Tuesday. It would also allow for the president to have a big, beautiful bill signing on Independence Day, and I certainly hope we can keep that deadline.
Speaker Mike Johnson's full This Week on Capitol Hill interview can be heard starting at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, Saturday on the Salem News Channel. Also at townhall.com. Boy, what a busy day. Supreme Court upholding a Texas law aimed at blocking kids from seeing pornography online. More than a dozen